National Collegiate Championships. Um, this is Charlie Sullivan, and Eddie Moog will be joining me again a little bit. We got a little bit of lunch break. Eddie, being a head coach of a junior program getting ready to go to nationals, has had some financial work to do in his little break, so he's sitting here coding next to me. So sorry, you're just going to have to put up with me for a little bit. I hope you'll survive. So this morning, we've had some really good racing so far. It was the small boats, so singles, doubles, and quads, and then some fours, as long as they weren't on the at the open varsity level. This afternoon, we are going to have varsity fours for the men and women. Um, and then we're going to have a 3v8 for the men, a 2v8 for the men, the women's 2v8, and then the men's and women's varsity 8 heats. And then at the very end of the day, we're going to have some E and F finals in the single, the double, and the novice 4 for the men. Um, so really this afternoon, sort of getting to the heart of the matter, as you will, the boats that are for most programs, they're top boats, either the varsity 4s or the varsity 8s, and the depth of the program showing up in 3v8s for the men and 2v and 3v8s for the women. Um, some really solid racing to come up. We'll be starting with women's varsity 4s. Any sort of time now as we get on to uh, the stake boats, and perhaps in fact they're already going, and we'll see them when they show up on the screen. Um, but here to watch some really great rowing. The water's been awesome. The wind has been a little variable at times, and the way that the progressions are working here, uh, there, if you were with us this morning, you had a nice long conversation with Greg Hartsoff, the Michigan head coach, and also one of the founders of ACRA, and the guy who sort of is been in charge of thinking about leading the thinking about the form and format of the regatta over the years. And he is explaining why they moved away from time trials and into this heats issue. These events that you'll be seeing, all the eights that you'll be seeing, have been seeded actually, so for the coaches poll, um, and are in their lanes according to those seeds. And there's a progression coming out of each of them, which is usually the top two, sometimes the top three, and then some of the next fastest times across the entire. So in the men's varsity 8, you're going to get the top two in each heat, plus the next 8 fastest times into the semifinals, A, B, and C. So that will mean that you'll catch anyone with the speed to be in the top 2 finals. Will be collected in there. So we're coming up to the start here in the women's varsity 4 heat 1. You have 4 heats of it. It's a fairly well subscribed event. And so this will be the top 3 times of 4. That would be 12. And then the next 6 fastest times to go forward overall 4 heats, which will give us 3. So in heat 1 here, we have Georgia, Ohio State, Liberty, Auburn, Loyola, Marymount, and Pittsburgh. And you can see that they're about a minute and a half into the race here. Very nice flat conditions, slightly overcast, a little bit of a headwind. And this headwind has been variable, which is making the next fastest times bit a little bit interesting. We have on your left Pittsburgh, then Loyola, Marymount in lane 5, who seem to be out in front right now. Then there's Auburn, then Liberty in the bright red boat, Ohio State, and then Georgia sort of up there right now with uh, Loyola Marymount up in front and leading. Again, nice little bucket. That's when you have 2 rowers on the same side right behind each other. And more commonly seen in 4s than in 8s, but seen in both. And Loyola Marymount out there at about 34, pushing nicely, although Liberty hanging in tightly on 2 or 3 seats back, and then it looks like Georgia sort of up with them also. Liberty making a very nice push right now, getting back pretty much even with LMU.
They were second in this event last year, first in this event, women's four. Them and Florida Tech, right? Duking it
LMU.
out. Liberty.
Yeah. They've started to really put some nice rowing down in that program. I know this 4 has been pretty successful. They're about 34, so they have some space to go. And LMU here also at 34. You can see really nice connection of the blades into the water as they go in. They're not taking much time to get locked on and pushing. Very nice rotation. The woman in stroke may be leaning away from her side a little bit more than you might like, and see that head leaning. Although the boat looks very set here.
Very set, yeah.
It sort of means that at some point, she sort of learned to try and set the boat a little bit with her body. It'd be nice if she brought it in, but in the end, you look at that blade and that finish work that she's setting up in the stroke is really quite nice. So this is what's progressing them on. They're pushing the boat away. Liberty not going away there. Liberty is sort of hanging up and keeping coming back in. And same also, in fact, for Georgia over on the outside. I think that's Georgia over there. And those 3 crews are going through with some open water over 4th place. And this is the top 3 to go through automatically into the ABC semifinals. So that's going to pull out the top 18 crews. Now, actually, Georgia coming back up into that, Liberty pushing up into LMU as we're coming in probably to about 1,200 meters here. This is just a great race. The ratings are all about the same, as you can see.
Yeah, these crews look like it looks like 3 crews from the same program. They're all doing the same stroke, same rate, and
they've even sort of synced into the same catch almost.
And yeah, no one's broken a bell ball. So.
Yeah. So we have a little stroke watch here, which lets us see sort of what everyone's at. But if you just look at the catches relative to one crew to the other, you can tell if they're on the same speed or not. So, in fact, I think what we're seeing right now here is Georgia having taken the rating up just a little bit. About 36, and that's moving them through right now. The 2 women over in LMU looking over and sort of seeing here, but there's a really nice move from Georgia and a great move from Liberty happening at the same time. And Georgia just picking it up and pressing right there in lane 1. That is the Cox of Luke Hagerman. And he is, I'm assuming he, with Luke, is coxing Victoria Lehman, Samantha Fallon, Caitlin Grindell, and Bailey Scott in there. And they're now taking a move. You are allowed, there are no gender or sex requirements on coxswains. They can be however and whoever they are and race in any event. So that is what's happening here. Is a very nice move from Georgia picking up, and Liberty has now slowly worked their way to be about a seat up or 2 seats up on Loyola Marymount. Just gorgeous rowing here. You can see, if you're new to rowing, there's a little bit more go. Can you see that? A little bit more go in lane 1. Well, even if you have an untrained eye, you can just see that there's a little bit more. Let's get in and push it.
Yeah, they're getting after it. It's not just in the rate, which is, I think, we wrapped up the morning with a lot of novice events where the sky's the limit, but also they're thinking like, oh, if I just keep bringing the rate up, whereas this is a much more seasoned crew that spent a lot of time together or just have the power to back it up. They don't need to open it up yet. I think we're going to see from lane 5 a little bit more of a sprint to try and push themselves into 1 or 2. But again, top 3 here goes.
Top 3 go through,
and they have
there's a large separation back to 4.
Yeah.
And in 4, I think that's Ohio State. And little OHIO being yelled from the shore. And then Auburn and Pittsburgh and Auburn. So those 3 crews, again, continuing just to race. it doesn't look like anyone's just emptying their tank at all. Very comfortable rowing. The Liberty crew in particular looks very relaxed in this
Really,
place.
really.
So you don't know what they have. They may have more. They've had a pretty successful spring season. That four. Their coach is very confident in that crew. She says that she's known from the beginning of the year that they were going to be a pretty good combination. Um, and they're actually sort of closing in a little bit, which is great. Just rowing their own race, and now actually closing up a little bit on Georgia, but you don't know if that means because Georgia's slowing down. Well, there, Georgia comes to the final line at 8:06, Liberty at 8:09. So fairly nice, not too bad of a interval there. Um, and then we'll have Loyola Marymount at 8:13. So those are the three that go through automatically, and we're going to have to start looking for as the other heats come down for where the next times are. Ohio State 8:29 is currently the time that you want to be ahead of if you're not in the top three in your heat. So really nice race there to get us going in the afternoon. Really nice rowing. As you're seeing now our varsity crews. You're seeing some of the very best athletes in each program, some of the best technical rowing, and that's you'll start to see just a difference. We're now picking up the second heat underway in lane 1 all the way to your right. That is Vermont. Lane 2 is Chicago. Lane 3, Oregon. Lane 4, Virginia Commonwealth. Lane 5, Lafayette. And lane 6, Central Florida. It seems to be Lafayette and Oregon out in front, with Chicago also hanging in there. And those are the three that are sort of up in front easily right now. Some water back there to Vermont and Virginia Commonwealth and Central Florida, sort of even in 5 and 6. So again, this will be three going in front. Let's see what rating we get here. About 33 and a half, 34 there for Oregon, and they're slowly taking a seat or two on Lafayette. Lafayette's had some pretty good fours rowing the last couple of years. They've been very successful in this event. They're only sitting at a 31, is it? 30. So they're fairly nice and relaxed. And here are these three lead crews. Again, Lafayette at 31. None of these crews here, you don't see quite the same go in those two lead crews that we saw Georgia use to get up in front in the last heat. But you can see a little bit of it maybe with the Chicago crew there on the top of your screen in the white boat in third place. There's sort of a little more. Let's get on it. They're at 35 and a half. But, it's to their advantage maybe, even though three go through. They want to sort of check out their speed. The other two fairly sort of comfortable in their approach right now as they're sort of coming in to 5 minutes, probably about 1250, 1300 meters in, to the race. Again, fairly so the way that these heats are done right now, this is I believe this is not seeded, but it is sorted.
Sorted,
As
yes.
we've been saying sort of all day. So the coaches have taken a look at crews that have done well over the spring and made sure that they're sort of in some separate heats. Then a sort of second level of they maybe haven't been winning things, but they've been hitting finals, and they're separated out over heats. And then a vision also towards making sure that there's some regional distinction so that two crews that have raced each other a lot don't necessarily end up in the same heat next to each other. They're past the 1500 now, 33 and a half still there for Oregon. and Lafayette moving up a little bit closer. Those two crews have separated themselves now from Chicago, but Chicago easily in third. And we have a nice little move here coming from Lafayette to get up, maybe pushing a little bit on Oregon, closing up a little bit of gap. Now we're starting to see a little bit of racing because why not go and finish first? There is theoretically an advantage to finishing. Well, there is an advantage to finishing first over
Quite the
second.
advantage,
Because
some might say.
you will not see another first place crew, or you'll see fewer first place crews necessarily from the heats in your semifinals. So there is an advantage to it, and you just need to go and go fast. And so here you would have Lafayette moving up in lane 5, and the rating is up now to 35.5. And Oregon, very nice tall rower there in 3. They're about a beat lower, but the whole boat is rowing with the height of that 3 woman, and that sort of it helps that she's just creating that length. You can see very nice long arm hang in that Oregon boat all the way through, and actually in some ways even nicer in Lafayette, although the Lafayette women are tending to row a little bit more collapsed.
That's a surprise.
They both work, right? They both work, but the height in the end, I think, is
Yeah, I just found
more
them to be
efficient.
really efficient with their strokes.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, watching them row in the 4. Interesting to not have is it FIT here? Not
No.
have Florida Institute of Technology here because they were the kind of the faraway leaders the last 2 years. So kind of opens up the field.
So
like
Oregon wins in 7:56.
Wow.
Which is quite nice for these conditions, and Lafayette in 7:57. Both of them faster than the heat previous. I believe Chicago in an 8:07.
Interesting.
So yeah, Georgia won the last one in 8:06, and now we have 7:56, 7:57. Again, I don't think any major. The wind died down a little bit, but not 10 seconds down.
No. Yeah. 8:31 for
yeah.
Vermont, so they're looking to get to that next.
They're just behind
semifinal.
Ohio State
Yep.
from the first heat in the fourth place time. Virginia Commonwealth at an 8:43, and then Central Florida should be closing that up. So these races are taking 8 minutes, but the centers from one race to the next right now are 7. So that means that the next race has already started as we go back up into Heat 3. There are 5 crews here. Penn State in lane 6, who is to your left there. And then coming across, going right, Purdue in lane 5, Colorado in lane 4, Grand Valley in lane 3, and Tennessee in lane 2. So again, here there will be I see 6 crews, but I only have 5 on my list. So let's go see if we can see something else. Oh, I'm in the wrong heat. That's why, because we're in Heat 3. Sorry. So closest to you was Florida out in front, George Mason, UC Santa Barbara in lane 4, Wichita State in lane 5, nicely up there. Illinois in lane 2, sitting in 3rd position, and Emory in lane 1. So that Florida crew out there up in front, yep, they're Orange Blades coming in nicely, and they're sitting up at about a 33. And then some connection there, I think, to Wichita State and to Illinois. Those 3 looking like they will progress forward. The Illinois crews had a pretty decent season, and Wichita State there also, again, this sort of idea of getting the crews spread across the regions, right? Emory from the south, Illinois the Midwest, Wichita the deep Midwest, Santa Barbara's from California, George Mason from the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, and then Florida from the south. None of these crews have probably seen each other, or maybe they have just in passing, but it's a great thing. Here we have Florida with their nice orange
Yeah, nice
and
bucket.
blue, and a very nice bucket. We do like ourselves a bucket. That is when you have the two rowers on the same side right behind each other. It helps them match up a little bit. You can see when you look at those blades together that they're moving through the water well together. Little bit of difference right as the blade comes out between 2 and 3. But the bucket has probably made that much better than it was maybe
Right.
earlier in the season,
Right.
right? That's one of the reasons you use them sometime. Um, Very nice race going on here
Good grip at the
also.
catch up there in that Florida crew.
Absolutely.
Their blades go in quickly, but it's a nice squeeze at the front end, which is why they're able to keep that rate so long and still keep a big spread on the rest of the field.
Only at 31 and a half.
Yeah, and that Illinois crew, and it is
Mason.
the Mason crew next to it.
George Mason there at about 34. Illinois at 35. And those crews there sort of, again, content to go through. There's a nice, you can see Illinois not that far back behind them. Just in a place where George Mason can see them and respond to anything that comes at them. Oh, I'm sorry, Wichita State. Wichita State out there, not George Mason. My bad.
Yeah.
Again, yellow and gold and green. I just get the colors mixed up. So, but Wichita State there and Illinois, both moving nicely, moving away from the others. So that's going to be again another pretty clear 3. They're coming in at 7:53, 55, 56. You can see the time down on the bottom left of your screen. So Oregon was already across. Lafayette was already across. Chicago went 8:07, so they were already across at this time. So it's just not as fast a heat. It was just a little bit less racy, as you can see, but it sort of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know,
And top 3 is about as much wiggle room as you have in any of these events so far
absolutely.
today.
A lot of them have been 2. So here we are at 3 Florida at an 8:15. And then we'll have Wichita State at 8:24 and Illinois right behind them, probably about an 8:30. Yep, and there they are. So those 3 will go through, and we were looking at an 8:31 for Vermont and an 8:43 for Virginia Commonwealth previously. So Mason is behind both of those 2. So right now, Vermont and Virginia Commonwealth holding 2 spots for the next 6 fastest times. And so moving forward, now we'll be in Heat 4. And here we are, for earlier Tennessee, Grand Valley, Colorado, Purdue, and Penn State. This is about as close to a home race for Tennessee as you can get. They don't. I don't think they train out here. I think they train on the river down by campus.
Right.
Most of the time, but they can't race there. So
No.
The varsity women at Tennessee, who are very fast right now,
yeah.
they just showed Texas that they have some speed there, but the club women here, I think, also train there as well, and then race here.
Yeah, the club women and men have had a good presence in the 4s the last few years that we've been down here to watch. Excited to see them back here. Pretty good space out here, and thankfully they're here. Otherwise, Vanderbilt would say that they're the home team. Which,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a bit of a stretch.
I don't know if anyone from the Knoxville area wants the Nashville area team saying that, but good presence out here. So from the left side to the right side of your screen, you're gonna have Penn State, Purdue,
Colorado.
Colorado in the middle, Grand Valley up in the lead, and then Tennessee over there in lane 2, 5-boat
and
race.
it almost looks like the referees launched there is racing. So I'm like, wait, why are there 6 when there are actually only 5? Again, here sort of stretched out a little bit, which is means that they can all sort of in some ways relax a little bit emotionally, knowing that the racing otherwise in the regatta is going to be quite tough. 35 there for Grand Valley in the lead, but a very comfortable. There's no anxiety that you can see on the end of that oar. Just really sort of going in quite nicely, and Penn State on the outside, also looking pretty good. Colorado in third, but uh, quite a good little start to the day here for Grand Valley, um, getting their racing going.
Yeah, this women's four from Grand Valley. I think they've been together all year. They've had a pretty successful year together. They were ninth at Head of the Charles,
Wow.
and their men's four also had a pretty good showing out there. And really cool, kind of like that Florida crew we just saw, but Grand Valley has a very distinct technique of rowing coming down from the John Bancheri tree.
John Bancari missing you every day, buddy.
Squeeze at the front end and this stiff swing. You can see the hips open like a heavy hinge on a door, and it just
Bam!
launches
Yep.
the boat away. So even at the slow rate, would you say it's below 30 on 30?
They're at 30 and a half.
30
Yep.
and a half, yeah. Looks like it's a 24. And they're just cruising on along. Penn State, really good look on that outside lane. Also, I think Coxon's like, they can tell that they can't hear any boats close to them,
Yeah.
right, in lane side by side or other spots. So they're also rowing their own race, keeping it pretty internal. That's a nice
So Grand
set and
Valley
squeeze.
has just taken the rating up as they come to the 1500. They're now up at a 34.
Oh, nice. That's
and,
great.
And
That's
just
good
sort
opening.
of let's pick up and let's empty out a little bit of the battery, and they're just moving. They're just moving away, starting to show. Now they're at 36, so they're getting a little bit of a sprint in at the end here,
I mean,
and you
they're
can
just
see
feeling
how
good.
much quicker it is. They're feeling good, and they're making sure that their speed is still there. Oh, that would be a crab there in lane 6. That would be Penn State.
Uh-oh. Now it's a race.
How uncomfortable for them. But Penn State still in second,
Yep,
still managing
and
to
still
do it.
Clearly in
And,
the top 3, so the Lions are
absolutely.
going to be all right.
And
Oh,
Colorado.
picking up some speed out of that.
And now they're like, oh, we got to go. So now they're up at a 39.5, 40 to try and get back away.
That's a rolling start there.
That's a little bit of adrenaline rush going there. Hopefully, whatever happened to create that crab doesn't come back. I think maybe actually one of the problems of not being up really at your full speed in some ways that they weren't is that you don't know where the racing is. You don't know where the pressure is, and so it gets off a little bit sometimes. And now just they're in an adrenaline. We've got to go. We've got to go. We've got to go. They actually don't, but there they are.
It's all right.
Another large gap here between third and fourth. So Tennessee sitting in fourth, and then Purdue rather back in fifth. So sort of by the time we're getting to the finish line here, looking a little bit like a head race in lanes. So maybe the times aren't going to be quite as pushed, and we saw some results from or some changes in the rating for Grand Valley, but they still managed to go 8:05.
Yeah, good piece from them.
Pretty good piece for them, and not at all bad. So faster than Chicago, not as fast as Lafayette and Oregon, but there was a race going on there, and showing that they have a little bit of some gears that they will show later in the regatta. Penn State 8:29 still puts them in. Well, they're already selected anyway since we're in the top 3. Colorado comes in at 8:37. And those 3 will go on to automatically qualify. So that we have, for some reason here, now we have the on to the men's event. This will be some spectacular racing here in the men's 4, which is almost always
This is going to be
one
deep.
of the more
This
events.
is 5 heats.
And it's one of the more crazy events in the regatta always.
So 5 heats, top 2 per heat go straight to semifinal. Next 8 fastest times to semifinal, and then after that, it's going to the D, E, and F final.
Exactly. So,
so the
all the
semi's
way
going to
to
select for the A, B, and
Yeah.
C.
Yes. Semi
Wow.
gives you A, B, and C.
Wow.
So you have Bowdoin out there on the left. You could have seen who is up front. Then next to them, Northwestern, lane 5, Loyola, lane 4, Grand Valley, lane 3, Delaware, lane 2, Georgia, and lane 1, Wash U from St. Louis. Um, so you can see here 3 crews. It looked to me early like Bowdoin was up front, but I think actually now what we have is Grand Valley. Well, they are up front, but with Grand
That's tight
Valley
though.
and Loyola right there, working it pretty well. Again, this now though is just for the varsity fours is only the top 2. So these 3 are going for 2 guaranteed spots, which is going to create some great racing. You can see it's a little interesting to be out there in lane 7. It gets a little close to shore there.
A little bit.
It's fine. They've, in fact, particularly in the first 200 meters a couple of years ago, the local organizing committee dredged that so that it was used to be very shallow. So
That's
you would
great
just
that
sit and watch a crew taking off in lane 7 or lane 6, and they would sort of sit there, even though they're moving, and there people would move out on them. Now you have a fair start out there, as you can see here.
yeah,
Bowdoin sort of up in front.
Bowdoin doing a great job here. It leads me to believe that this 31 here. These are probably 3v4v guys for them. I think they have 2 to 3/8 here, and they're getting some challenge from, I believe, who's that? All those lanes over.
That is Grand Valley.
That's Grand Valley, and the Loyola's next to them. That makes sense. Yeah, they're getting some challenge. I think Bowdoin just moved back ahead, maybe half a deck, but that was a really good move. In only a few strokes, they have at least a seat on Grand Valley.
Grand Valley at 35, you can see sort of pushing it along a little bit lighter, a little bit quicker. You can see those enormous puddles out of Bowdoin. Actually, 2 men, they're at 30, but the 2 men burying a little bit of his oar shaft.
Right,
Um,
right.
So
He's trying to help dredge.
he's not
the
the
lane a
and
little bit
actually
more.
that whole port side is bragging some more chaff. Coaches, you might want to check the rigging, just to make sure that it's a little bit flatter through the water. But very powerful rowing here. A lot of press as the braid goes in. And control with wise. Their rating is now up to 33. They got a bucket hat in the stroke seat. Always good for speed. Uh, 2 crews pretty comfortably in first and second, I think. I mean, there's
Yeah,
a third place crew
LMU.
sort of right there, but little bit of move coming now on the outside from Grand Valley, maybe coming up almost even. And we'll see if Grand Valley men do the same thing that their women did, which is come into the last 500 and take the rating up.
In the hands, I think I'm seeing it.
And that's what we're seeing. It's 35, and they're moving up. And actually, Bowdoin now also answering. They're up at 34. So
That's
those
great.
2 crews have decided let's race a little bit. And actually now those oar shafts are not digging nearly as deep on the Bowdoin boat. So maybe it was just a matter of the hull and where it sits at a certain rating.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
sits
so
down in the
a lot
water
less
more.
time dipping back down to the water. Really great show by the LMU crew. They're just a little bit off. They're not going to be able to close on the bow
lead
balls
2.
of the other 2 crews. This is our second year here. Second year being a club since losing D1 status.
Yep.
And they love representing student-led rowing in LA and LMU.
They have one of the coolest boathouses. It's
Yeah.
floating.
Yeah.
And so there are now a bunch of community programs who are rolling out of there as well. So it's become sort of a more interesting space to be on Marina Del Rey.
But they're making a really good mark here. The rest of the field is still pretty fast pace. Like Northwestern, I think, is in the last spot of this heat,
Yep.
but they're cooking pretty hard. So we're gonna see.
But Bowdoin
what
now
happens.
2 seats up,
That's
3
great.
seats up maybe on Grand Valley.
Good
Grand
response to
Valley
the
not
move.
no one's sprinting here really. Grand Valley still at a 36. Bowdoin at 32 back. They've just lengthened back out to go in front. I think there's just a little bit of let's play, and then both crews saying we're fine, and they're moving forward through. So we will see some times here. That was Bowdoin in 7:03, and it'll be Grand Valley second in 7:05. So that's sort of the leads. Loyola Marymount, LMU at 7:13, Georgia 7:20, Um, so, yeah, a minute faster than the women, which is about right.
Yeah.
50 seconds to a minute is about what you would expect to see in speed differential there. Heat 2 will be coming up. So it's a 7:20 from Georgia right now is the sort of next fastest time. And here we are in Heat 2. You can see them coming at you on your uh, on your right in lane 1. In lane 7 is Illinois. In lane 6 is Wichita State. Lane 5 Vanderbilt. Lane 4 Ohio State. Lane 3 Lafayette, who seem to be out in front with Irvine in lane 2, and then Virginia Tech in the back. Again, this will be 2 to go, and right now it seems like that's Irvine and Lafayette up
Right.
front. And then a very close race with Ohio State and Vanderbilt right there as well. And then Illinois a little bit up on Wichita State. You can see the press coming out on those first two crews, Irvine and Lafayette. Hard to tell. It looks like Irvine's maybe a little bit ahead, but just barely. And they're still up pretty high. Let me double check that. About 36. I had them a little bit higher, but I think my finger was wrong on the stroke watch. 37 from Irvine. So these crews are laying it out, and they have to.
They have to, and those first two crews have separated from at least the back three, but I wouldn't, count them in as locks right away. We're through the first 500, not quite to the 1K mark. I think we're going to see something really interesting from Ohio State and Vanderbilt once we get into the past the 1250 mark.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge here is that those other two crews are racing each other. It's not just one crew sitting out there and maybe trying to absorb it. They're having to go. And when you race, some things happen. This is a great little shot from you never get to see this view really as a rower or as a coach. You can really see you can see very nicely how the blades are locking in and really pushing there in lane 3.
What was that Vandy crew we saw this morning? Was that the lightweight varsity 4, or was it a novice crew that
It was a lightweight 4, I think.
And they walked.
Yep.
So I think they haven't done that yet, but I think they're trying to break through that bow ball of the Ohio State crew.
Yeah, so those guys are going, and the two out in front are going, and so I don't think you're going to get those two trailing, this third and fourth place crews pushing up exactly here, but they're going to set themselves up nicely, perhaps for a good next 6 fastest.
Yeah, we'll see. The
the
slowest time in the last heat was 7:40. I think that's going to show itself to be pretty fast compared to the spread on this one.
Yeah, we'll see.
But looking forward to see a shot of when you see Irvine and Lafayette when we pull in a little bit closer to them.
Yeah.
Lafayette just barely up, half a seat.
Again, just sort of, it looks comfortable. It's very efficient. This is not their full out racing yet.
No,
this
it's really interesting. Lafayette is a very long race pace. Bauman, it almost looks like he's drilling. There's a very 35 still, very thoughtful move out of bow, get that blade in, lock, and go. No stress. Doesn't worry that someone on the crew's next to us. And UC Irvine is pushing back with a rate 35, which is also still really long in a 4. I'm surprised by that. It's really good.
Yeah, they probably both have
aspect.
another gear, and at this point, they know that the semifinals are going to be fire. So so they're okay right now, right? And there's open water. They're going, but they're holding some gears in reserve. But really nice again from up on top. You can see how the blades in that Lafayette crew go in. There's time for the spoon to fill with a little bit of water.
Oh, yeah, you're actually going to get grip on the face of the blade.
And then push. They're getting the face of the blade loaded and then pushing, which is really nice. Even you can see that almost even a little bit nicer here in the Irvine crew, where the blade goes in very patiently. Those two are there. There's a great race there for first and second, and then another great race for third and fourth behind them as well. And in both cases, the crews are right next to each other.
Yeah, yeah,
So they're actually really feeling the race. They're not having to imagine a race six
yeah.
lanes across.
Which is nice. And again, they're not seated in this event, but they are sorted and structured so that, if you've been having good results in that shell all year, Lafayette, I'm sure, has been. I think Ohio State's been doing 4s and 8s. We know that you are coming here as one of the better crews. Really good row. They're passing our line of sight. Illinois, that is Wichita State next to them. Really good strokes.
Illinois, open water just now.
Yeah.
Ahead of Wichita State.
And all crews in that first 4 cluster are in the red buoy, so pretty soon we'll find out if they're going to crack them
They're
way
about
away. Under 7 minutes
right now. They're about 6:30, so it's doable.
Vandy picking up a really big move here, a lot like their lightweight counterparts. I think that is Lafayette is going to keep themselves ahead of University of Santa Barbara, and now I'm going to look at this wonderful drone shot instead of the vantage point that's getting further away from me. And yes, Lafayette is cruising ahead.
No UC Santa Barbara.
Oh, UC Irvine. So sorry.
There you go.
Don't let the California school system come
after
me.
They're all some form of gold and blue. So
I think I did the same thing last year.
It's easy to get them mixed up.
And hitting the line just over the 7-minute mark, a little bit slower than the first heat, but really well raced.
But not much at all.
Hardly. Really well raced from
and,
Lafayette.
And very close on some of the times further down, I'm imagining. So, again, as we thought, this would be a very, very competitive event, pretty tight event. Maybe we'll see a crew that sort of shows some speed that no one else has.
Yeah, Vandy faster than the third place
and
crew.
Ohio State at 7:13.105, and we had 7:13.795 from Loyola Marymount as third in the other. So both of those crews faster, Vanderbilt and Ohio State, than the crew in before. We're now going to be seeing Heat 3. Again, from your left, you're going to see Tulane, Nebraska in lane 6, Oregon in lane 5, Michigan State in lane 4, Purdue in lane 3, West Point Army in lane 2, and Virginia Commonwealth in lane 1. And it looks like Oregon out in front with West Point, with Army up there. I remember when Army, we saw them launch, they have a ridiculously tall 3-man.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you almost wonder if he's too tall for the military standards, but we'll have to see. But those two crews going out really quite nicely. It's nice to have Army, to have West Point back here. The regatta got moved a week earlier, and
right.
So West Point had been unable to come for several years because it's graduation, and for the seniors it's commissioning, and the academy just would not allow them to travel. So now that the regatta's moved a week, hopefully Army will build back up a presence of being at this regatta, because they were really, 8-10 years ago, really putting on some nice results.
Putting on results, they were in the
showing
eights.
And really building it, and I think on that campus, really providing a great outlet for those for the midshipmen as the Navy, for the cadets.
I
found it. There you go.
Good one.
For the cadets at West Point.
Otherwise, they would have court-martialed you.
Yeah, I'm a Quaker. It's like that's okay. So apologies for my lack of knowledge of military terminology, but great to have West Point back here. And again, two crews sort of out in front, and then that being again Army and Oregon, I think.
Yeah, Oregon's moving really impressively in the 4s so far today.
And
men's
then
side, women's
Virginia Commonwealth and Purdue sitting there in sort of second, in third and fourth.
Right.
This sort of points out interesting. So Purdue making a big push this year to reclaim the team points championship, and but these Purdue guys, they've got to be 4V guys. right? So Purdue has a varsity 8, a second varsity 8, a third varsity 8, and then there's a 4, and they had a lightweight 4 on the varsity level. So this is a large varsity program. And so these 4V guys are trying to come up and race probably against West Point's. Does West Point have an 8? I'm not sure. I think they do. Um, but but
The top
probably
half of West Point's roster.
for sure.
And the
Same
top
with
4
Oregon.
guys from Oregon.
Yeah. So this is where this fours event on the varsity level is where the big programs and the smaller programs sort of overlap.
Yeah.
And it just sort of makes that some really nice rowing there. Look at that, Oregon. Just look at that rhythm around the release. The blade comes out, and it doesn't stop moving, but it's not. There's a little pause and rush, but not so much. It's the 2-man there for West Point, who's awfully tall there, as you could see. And when it's interesting height in rowing because it's the height from your hips to your shoulders.
Yeah, so you can
right?
be
You can be 6'7" and look short in a boat, and I was only 5'11", 6 foot on a really good day, but I sit like a 6'2" to 6'3" guy, right? So I could actually stroke boats, short legs to drive the boat, and then the upper body to match the height of the tall guys that I had to row with. But he's tall. So you can see they've actually separated themselves out pretty clearly, those two. And again, no real anxiety here in the rowing. No need to really sort of push. There's Oregon. Again, some pretty strong frames on those guys. Shoulders a little tight, maybe could be relaxed, but the blades are going in and pushing right away. Very sort of nice entry out of the stroke seat, and particularly 3 and bow matched up very nicely there.
I think no stress in their rowing. It looks like they've been envisioning this piece, this race weekend, the whole trip down. And they are through the 1,500 meter mark, not quite to the last 250. West Point holding on very well against them, but a lot of
West
spread.
Point is just lengthened out
a
here.
lot of
and
spread
is just,
in this heat.
Yeah, Oregon's saying we'll take it, and West Point is saying fine, you go. Where we should be seeing a little more anxiety, we would hope, would be in these 3rd and 4th place crews, really trying to get something going, so that they can, from Virginia Commonwealth and Purdue, wanting some time there. Again, trying to get into the top 18 puts you in better points land than it does if you're 19.
Yeah. Nebraska Lincoln making a really good sprint way before the red buoys come up.
Now they had a pretty impressive freshman novice for earlier this year. So if they're all coming back, that should be a decent little 8 if that's in their plans. And then at the back we have Virginia. We have Tulane and Michigan State, sort of in their own race here at the back. The
Green on green.
Green on green, and the Tulane 3-man is giving everything he has.
Everything.
And unfortunately, maybe a little bit therefore inefficient, very short blade through the water to get there. So Oregon goes in 7:14, West Point in 7:26, and
ECU 742. So I think the rest of the field's gonna. I don't know if they're gonna make it to that top semifinal. I think they're going right to DEF semifinal.
We'll
I'm
have
sorry.
to
Yeah,
see
there's
that.
2 semifinals. I should have been clear about that when we started. There's a DEF semi, not straight to DEF final.
Oh, okay, because it's a varsity.
Because it's so
varsity
big.
event.
So,
yeah. So here we are in heat 4 of 5, and some good racing here to be done already. You can see actually 3 crews up fairly close to each other.
Yep. From the left side of your screen to the right, you have Oklahoma State University of Chicago, George Washington. I think it's the first crew we've seen from them so far today. Long Beach State, who was top of the B final last year. Texas crew, who was medaled in the A final last year at Notre Dame. Funny enough, the coach of the Texas crews last year,
There you
Sean
go.
McKenna.
So Sean McKenna. Yeah.
Sean McKenna at Notre Dame for his first year.
So them sort of right next to each other, and it looks like we have Texas out in front just a little bit, but fairly even there with Chicago and Long Beach State. So those three sort of pushing still a little bit of contact there from GW. And maybe Notre Dame still in the play with GW there. Again, but those crews probably now racing for best time. The wind, however, though, is picking up. The water is getting even in the last little bit, just a little bit wobblier up here where we are. So when they hit the last 500, it's going to be a little bit more challenge to try and get some speed through that. You can still see, though, more tightly bunched than the last races. So that might actually have some good omen for some of these other crews to see where they're going to be able to sort of end up in the end of all of that. Little bit of separation now happening from Texas. Open water over Long Beach State. But Chicago still sticking their nose in it out in lane 5 to see. There's probably going to be a pretty good race here, I think, for the second place for the guaranteed spot. Let's see where we have some
so it's going to be
ratings.
Long Beach and Chicago. That makes a lot of sense for them to be up.
Chicago at 35.5 and making a move. Long Beach State at 36. So those crews are having to go. It looks to me right now like Chicago is making a successful move on Long Beach State, but it's only 2 seats.
Right.
And there's still some time to go. As they're probably hitting about 12:50 right now, and coming into what looks, from our vantage point, to be a rougher patch of water coming here. So we'll see. Let's see who has the worst water to train on. Chicago trains on the canals in the city of Chicago.
And it's a windy city, so.
Yeah, but that's pretty protected water.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So we'll see. You can see now as the buoys line up pretty well there. That Chicago has taken a nice little move there on Long Beach State. Long Beach is, I believe this is correct. That's going to be where the Olympics are, where they're only
around Marina.
Meters.
Around Marina Del Rey, same as
Well, it was the 1936 Olympic thing, and the Olympics decided that they had to race there, so they were only going to be racing 1,500 meters at the Olympic Games, which is an absurdity if you're listening from World Rowing and from the Olympics Committee. That is just craziness, but you're doing it, so we'll go along for the ride, right? So those two are going to be in a heck of a race.
What I'm going to say, we got a really tight shot on Texas right now. We're going to see something soon. There's going to be a lot of races you'll watch this weekend where just because you're pushing the crew closest to you that you want to pass, the two of you pushing off each other is going to bring you back up into the front of the pack or way further up than you thought.
Sure.
Right now, Long Beach State and Chicago are a much closer margin in on Texas than that first 1K would have shown.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Texas can sit there and just absorb it, but very much you have Long Beach trying to make sure that they're going to get that
Texas
second
just
spot.
picked up a sprint to make sure that I think it's a time sprint because it happened as soon as the oars passed the red buoys.
Into the red buoys.
But this Long Beach versus Chicago fight it's going to take you to the end of the line. Chicago's starting to fall off just a little bit from Long Beach State.
Yeah, Long Beach just put a hammer down and moved pretty quickly because you remember when they were bow balls even, and it was only 30 strokes ago, 20 strokes ago. So they definitely moved when they needed to, and Chicago didn't have an answer. But hopefully they'll have a time coming in
I think their time is
fast
going to
enough.
put them
This
easily in the
this
top
crew's going to
7.
go across in just over 7 minutes, right around there, and when from Texas. So they'll probably be like 7:03 or something like that, um, which is going to put them in the same time as heats 1 and 2, which were both 1 and 7:03. So right now we don't have any crew that's really 7:02.7
Nicely
from
done.
Texas. So uh,
Fastest
not
of the men's
fastest,
course.
but not by. No one has shown themselves to be
Yeah,
crazy
the way
faster.
we would say it is that 702, 703, 705 of
It's all the
the
same
top.
speed.
It's exactly it's the same score. Chicago though 713 going to put them
713 is going to do them very well. Loyola Marymount was a 713 in the first
easily
heat.
into the A.
Vanderbilt was a 711, but West Point was 726. Purdue was 743. So those crews are sort of getting pushed here, as Notre Dame even here goes 735. Excuse me. Um,
Yeah, I
and
think going over
GW had a
730.
728. So
I think going over
coming
730
into
is not going to help.
the last heat here, it's going to be Villanova in lane 6, who will be on your left when you finally see them back up there. Michigan in 5, Clemson in 4, Vermont in 3, Kansas State in 2, Bucknell in 1. So for Bucknell and Michigan, these are their 4th varsity guys.
Right. But every boat counts, man. They want team points across the board. This is a great shot. It's probably what an eagle sees when they're looking for a fish.
When they're looking for a fish, exactly. As our drones from HereNow
are on
head
the hunt
back up.
for a good race.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, we're almost 2 minutes into this race, so it'll be interesting to see who's where as they come back up. Right, this would be a place where, if Purdue did not move forward in the 4, and Michigan does,
Right.
And
they
Bucknell
come.
does, then they would be in sort of decent space. Right now, though, it looks like we have 654. Villanova, Michigan, Clemson up there, Vermont up there, Bucknell up there, Michigan sitting back a little bit, Kansas State sitting back a little bit. Have to sort of see how this goes, but Clemson nicely out up in front, and Bucknell on the far right, racing in second. That would be big for Bucknell and their points.
Absolutely. A little bit past the first 500 mark, and I believe we're seeing Bucknell and Clemson, if that's lane 4 correct.
Yep.
Up in the lead of this group. We'll see if Michigan charges back in.
Vermont sitting sort of in third, and Villanova ahead of Michigan. Here we have Clemson. Again, just the difference of getting the guys who are the 4 best guys in a program and guys who are the 4V, although Bucknell is sort of showing that they can go when they need to go.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
depth.
Really great hang out of these guys. They have a lot of reach on that inside side of their body closest to their pin. This is a very aggressive 33.
See the coxswain actually down there laying down in the boat, if you haven't seen that. In the 8s, they sit at the other end, but here they're actually laying down with their feet down in there, not breaking the wind. Some very nice blade work there out of Clemson with their Head of the Charles number
sticker still on.
So now we're getting a
they're
little
pushing
bit
themselves
more
ahead.
separation here. Clemson out in front. You can see Bucknell still in second, but Vermont pushing up a little bit, and Michigan and Kansas State sort of back there behind Villanova, ahead of Michigan. So if Michigan could latch on to Villanova, that would be helpful. But they also just getting moved again, a separation of the lead three and the trailing three, as we've seen in much of the day.
Yeah, might be too big of a gap. A little bit past the 1250 here. They're about to come into our line of sight, so we can see if that rowing on the video looks just as good in real life, and it does. Conditions just a slight crosser here in this last 750. I don't think it's going to change this race, but I think it might affect overall times. This Villanova crew on the outside is bringing some outside heat. They got some good movement here. I think they're starting to really find their stride, or are getting themselves ready to pick it up to an early sprint.
Yeah, at this point they're chasing time. They're chasing seconds more than they're chasing meters, and trying to just sort of get up there and get the move going. Very nice rowing here up front from this Clemson crew, really sort of loping along. And then you have Bucknell maybe getting pushed a little bit at this point by Vermont. Um, uh, but the press in that Bucknell crew,
Yeah.
very nice. Particularly in the stern pair, those two are just hooked in together and really pressing very nicely, as you can see here. All the bodies are quiet. The shoulders are down. The blades are going in nicely. The leg press is at the speed of the boat. Bow looking over to make sure that they're still in control over Vermont, which
Yeah.
they want to be. Maybe often you would say he shouldn't be, but it looks like he's talking to the coxswain because the coxswain can't see anything. So very well coached crew for the bowmen to actually have to be the eyes of the boat there and let the coxswain know what's going on so that the coxswain can call the rest of the race. Again, you can see Clemson here in a little bit of a sprint. If anything else, maybe you just want to try. You're up at a 37.5, 38. So even if they've been at a loping base, when they hit those red buoys, a lot of times the crews in those positions are going to throw their sprint anyway, just to practice it.
Yeah.
At the end of a race, so that when they do have to use it, ideally to move away from people, they can go there. You see the coxswain absolutely laying still. Sitting up, though, as they go
Nicely
across
done.
the line again in a 707. So those were 702s and 703s, 707, all about the same time, particularly with a little bit more wind that we thought we had here.
But yeah, this is great. When we were talking about it with
Bucknell going 723, but getting
interesting.
through, which is great, and good job for them. Vermont at a 726, and for the most part, that puts them in a pretty good place. Vanderbilt's faster than that. Ohio State is faster than that. Georgia and Loyola Marymount were faster than that. But
so they might be squeezing in there.
No,
with
they
one
should
of
be in there. Vermont should be in that top 12. And then
it's 8. It's not 6. My fault. My fault on that semi. Great work by those crews. That is our last group of 4s coming up today. Our last group of, varsity 4s coming up today. We have a couple 4s finals this afternoon. And we're moving on to the 8s, who should be on the course about 600 to 650 meters in for the men's 3v8.
So we have 2 heats of men's 3v8 and 3 heats of men's 2v8. In both cases, you get the top 2 out, but in the 3v8, you get the 2 fastest times straight to a grand final. There are no semifinals, while in the 2v8, you get the next 6 fastest times to a semifinal, AB semifinal. So the finals will be sort of set by the end of this. And coming down in this men's 2v8 Heat 1, we have from your left in lane 6, North Carolina, then Delaware, Michigan, who seems to be out in front, Virginia in lane 3, and Washington State in lane 2. We're probably coming to about 750 or 800 meters. Michigan seems to have open water on Virginia, and Delaware hanging in there. Delaware and Virginia fairly even. um, Washington State right there. Washington State sort of being the crew that has not seen each other in all these people. There's a fabulous launch heading up to the start. As we come back in, about 3 minutes in, they should be at about the 1,000, a little bit further. Michigan, very nicely rhythmic here at about 35 and a half, 36. And in control of the race, but three crews very tightly matched there in Delaware, Virginia, and Washington State. So that's not a race I think I'd want to be stuck in, since it is here again the top two, plus the next two fastest times, and it's straight to the A final. This is where you determine whether you're going to be in the hunt for medals. Is already happening today. It's the first time we've had this today. That this is really what's going on. Michigan continuing to push across. You can see all of the coxswains. You can see their pads there. All of them having a little bit of stuff happening. Here's Michigan from on the bow, and they're at a 38 saying, okay, it's time to move. Virginia putting a seat or two on Delaware maybe. The Delaware crew, very organized rowing at 37. Newish coach there, Tristan, getting some stuff done.
Alum.
And an alum of the program. Virginia right now at 37, making sure that they're there. And we'll see as they come over there. Michigan, easy open water right now and pushing away. Virginia, open length behind Michigan, and Delaware still in contact. It looks like Virginia is ahead on your screen, but I think actually we have Delaware ahead of Virginia
just slightly
as they come. What you're seeing is some parallax. And as they come through us, we have Delaware taking a seat now up on Virginia. Delaware at 36 and a half. Virginia at a 38. Virginia known for some beastly sprints that they can throw up, and if they have a sprint to throw, I bet you they're going to throw it right here. You have to do the racing now. The blade work for Delaware, just gorgeous. Virginia hanging a little bit right before they go in, and that might make the difference in the two. Delaware looks like it's just easier through the water. Virginia looking a little bit more labored here. We have great video from right behind. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both of these crews are rowing well, and they're 3Vs, so it's not even the best kinetic athletes necessarily on there. But you have Delaware moving right now on Virginia, and I think part of it is just that when you see the Delaware blade goes in, you see a puddle right away.
Right.
And when you see Virginia, you see the blade go in, and it takes a little bit more time.
Just a little bit
for
of time
the
to
spoon
squeeze and
to
establish
squeeze in,
force on the face of it, and the
so
way that
Michigan
they're
goes across
in.
at 6:27. Delaware is going to be second here. I'm going to guess around 6:35 or something like that. Just a guess, maybe 6:34 as we get the time. 6:36. There you go. Delaware second, and Virginia will have to wait and see what the times are. But they had a good race.
They had a great race
with another crew at 6:38. So we'll see there what happens then.
Washington State through the line, just a little bit off that pace of the top.
And then UNC.
Second and third crew, so we didn't get to talk about them much. Another well-rowed crew, UNC
but
through the line.
Washington State and North Carolina, 3/8 of men racing here on the varsity level, which is just a great thing to do. So in the next heat, you're going to see Minnesota, Bucknell, Purdue, Rutgers, and Georgia Tech, and that's going to be a barn burner too. I would expect Purdue, Bucknell, and Rutgers to be putting on quite a race, and now they're off. Just in, they're only 40 seconds in, still in their Um, in their speed, you have on your right Minnesota, then Bucknell out in front next to them, Purdue in the middle, Rutgers next to them, and then in the closest lane to the short us anyway, is Minnesota. Um, so quite a start here uh, for Bucknell. Always fast off the line, and Purdue is um, very strong, deep program going well. Rutgers steering a little
Yeah,
bit,
having a bit of an issue there.
having a little bit of an issue.
Purdue had one for a second, but they're back on
Yep.
course.
And Georgia Tech actually up there as well. So Georgia Tech here racing with a 3V,
That's great.
which is
Yeah,
great.
they've had some presence in the eights for a couple years. I'm really happy to see the 3V in the mix right now. Looks like Bucknell still, let's see, past the 500 meter mark and holding that first place spot on Purdue. And it's looking like that to Purdue to Rutgers right there in a 1-2-3 mark. Minnesota and Georgia Tech not very far off the pace, much closer than the 5 in the last one. Calm water up here, maybe a little bit of a crosser down there where the water opens up, but I think all these crews are in fair play and good enough water that they really just got to put down their best piece.
Absolutely. And Bucknell always comes ready to play here. They are aggressive racers.
Absolutely.
They always have. They have this sort of small school chip on their shoulder. And we have fewer guys to deal with. We can't recruit on campus the same way, but we're going to work really, really hard. And their coach, Dan Wolben, is very good at popping that mentality into them. And they're putting on quite a move here. Bucknell has been able to do this type of move in many boats all year. And here they are doing it again on Purdue. Also, a very deep, solid program with very, very good top end speed.
Right.
So, this 3V has been out there having to work really hard against some of the best crews in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah, chasing one of the fastest set of crews in ACRA. It's always great to have that sharpen your steel. But Bucknell, through all that, is maybe half a length up on them, at least 2 or 3 seats.
Yeah.
And that would be Rutgers slightly behind Minnesota now. I think maybe half a deck. Great shot here as we go on, but Bucknell, I think their coxswain is looking for that crew to keep taking seats. They are not worried about just being in first. I think they want to establish dominance over a crew that's also shooting for the team post against them.
She is not moving an inch.
No.
She is hunched down in there. That core is locked. Those legs are pressing.
If there are any junior coxswains watching, take notes.
This is how you do it. There should be absolutely no yanking of the coxswain.
You are an athlete within the boat.
And you are the athlete most attached to the boat.
Right.
So that's what you want. So some really nice, again, just look at how well drilled that crew is from Bucknell. The blades are going in gorgeously. The timing is awesome. The acceleration through the outside is good. The shoulders are soft. Everything is moving really, really well there in the 3V from Bucknell. Just always a pleasure to see their racing happening. But Purdue is pushing here.
They're pushing
to stay up in there. Those two now, as you can see, have clearly just separated themselves away. They will be the two to move on.
That's correct. And Minnesota still holding just a little bit of carbon fiber lead over Rutgers.
Just a bit.
And Purdue looks like they responded to Bucknell and are...
They've drawn even. They're on terms. They're on terms, as you would say. So this is going to be absolutely sort of fun to see what happens here. This is when the coxswain from Purdue says, we got to answer this, and then they find a gear, and it's working. And they're just taking a little every stroke. Now they're maybe a seat ahead. Now they're 2 seats. Oh, they're just taking a seat every stroke, which means that's just were they holding something back? You just don't know.
Patient first 2/3 of the race.
Exactly, and now they're showing why they're seated. I think they're seated first in the event, and I think that you're showing why right here.
What's their rate right now? It's not super high because a lot of this is making sure that as that handle passes through the pin. 36, pretty low for, well, not low, par for the course for where men's eights are at
At
right
this
now.
point, that's a beat or two low
Yeah.
for where they will be in a final.
Yeah. And a lot of it is just because of the way they're drawing the handle into the finish. Their bodies are really tall. They're not just swinging their bodies away from the handle. Instead, they're swinging their bodies to this point where they can hold firm
and push the boat away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The purpose of the finish is not to get your blade out. The purpose of the finish is to push the boat away.
So they've
sort of one of the coaching mantras from Rolling Seat Coaching from this spring. Go check them out online. Shameless plug.
Been drilled into them, evidently, as they are now an open length ahead of the Bucknell Bisons.
And they did it in the last 300 meters.
And that will be, they're all on the red buoys coming through the line.
About 6:30, 6:32. Michigan won a 6:27.
Yeah, just a little bit off that Michigan pace.
6:31 for Purdue. But you don't know how they were playing at 6:36 for Bucknell. So that's going to be a good race. Also, Delaware was 6:36. So those are going to be. It looks like both Rutgers and Minnesota come in. Let's see. So it's two. Virginia gets through, and Rutgers gets through. So the top three from each heat are going to have gone there. So now we go to the second varsity eights. This will be heat one. This again is a seeded event, and I believe that we have Purdue seeded first in the event, if I'm not wrong, which is why you're seeing them in the middle of the first heat.
I think they are, given how their year went.
So this should be 1, 6, and 7. That would be Notre Dame at 6 and Delaware at 7. So as we can see here,
off the blocks,
we have from the left, we have West Point in lane 7, UNC in lane 6, Delaware in 5, Purdue in 4, Notre Dame in 3, GW in 2, and Georgia Tech in 1. Great to see Georgia Tech racing these eights. I just love that. Still fairly tight, 35 seconds, 36 seconds in. You see just a little bit of the chevron showing up. So the chevron is what you get in a fully seeded event here, is what you would expect to see. But the speed of the start and the speed of the base can be very different. You can have a crew with really good starting speed, but then when they shift down, which is probably about now, they should be shifting down more into a base speed, you'll start to get what you see. And you see Purdue just sticking their nose out there in front of Notre Dame on their right and your right, and their Delaware. They're also, it's sort of interesting because of this angle, which we don't see very often. That is the drone out in front and looking back. You're actually seeing it from a rower's perspective as opposed to a coxswain's perspective, which is really, really fascinating and interesting. And just, really, really good drilling in all of these programs that allows this rowing at this point to come.
Yeah, here's our chevron starting to form up. Purdue just a little bit ahead of that Notre Dame crew.
And Delaware.
And then a little bit further ahead of them in George Washington. And I think given what the 3V did, I'm sure the 2V from Purdue has another move in store to separate themselves and slingshot ahead of the group. But it's going to be really exciting to see who takes this number 2 spot right now. Notre Dame with Sean McKenna's guys are in good position.
They're in there, and they're pushing up into Purdue as well, and those two are separating themselves out. And there are another 6 fastest times to get. So it's not quite as do or die as it was in the 3Vs, to try and get those times to go in.
This goes to semi or this goes to grand final?
These go to semis.
Great.
The 2V goes to semis. And so you'll get 12 into the semifinals, AB, or the AB semifinals, and then everyone else goes to a C final. So well in control here. You can actually see the seed.
Right.
right?
Yeah, 1, 6, 7.
6, 7, 13. No, 1, 6, 7, 16, 6, 7. I don't know.
Yeah, I can barely count this late in the day, so I'm not going to try and do it while watching the race. We're well into the second 1K of the race right here. They're coming into our line of sight pretty soon. Really clear water right now, some of the better conditions of the afternoon.
And the wind is laid down.
And I'm sure that they will take advantage of that and lay down a fast piece. First heat of this event will be great to see how much further ahead
Purdue at 33, they've
are.
just lengthened out, and they are pressing just sort of matching. Let me double check this again. I've been getting weird data on my finger. Yeah, 34. Just pushing nicely there. Very, very clean racing.
I mean, a lot like their
Getting
3V,
35, 35 and a half.
a lot like their 3V counterparts. There's so much send into that finish before the blade even exits that they're not in a rush to get back up there. They're not in a rush to overextend their bodies because they know how to sit up and swing it.
What I think is missing in their rowing right now is a little bit of definition around the finish, and I think it's because they're not at their full speed. So instead of knowing exactly where the finish is going to be and the push is going to be, it's sort of a little mushy right now. It's matched, but it's not really pushing all the way through. It looks like doing the rowing to stay out in front of Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has now gotten themselves apart. Let me see if we get a good rating on Notre Dame there. Notre Dame 37.5. Purdue very clean, but 35.5. So they're just sitting there marking, and then Delaware sort of pushing up, going after time, and you can see they're at about a 37.5, 38.
A pretty long 37.5 from Delaware, and Notre Dame is starting their sprint way early. You can tell it's a very clear shift. Those hands are ripping away fast to just get the most separation from the three crews behind them.
Well, they're also going after time right now. Right, so they want to make sure that, and they will. I don't
top
think
two progresses right away, right?
Yeah, but they're sitting in
Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame in second.
Yeah.
And
then
Delaware has
in
picked up their sprint now that they're
pushing very well.
Now that they're in the red buoys. UNC is doing that. I think they're going to try and close in on George Washington, and then that is
Delaware at a 38 right now.
Yeah, GW and Georgia Tech and West Point on those outside lanes.
So this is still the one thing that you know in the 2V event, which is great, is that it is everybody's guy 9 through 16, right? So
even playing field.
Even playing field. The Purdue goes a 6:14. The 1V is the measure of the speed of a program, and the 2V is the measure of the depth of the program.
2V is the measure of depth. 3V is the measure of the depth because it wasn't.
Well,
it was less than
deep. No,
less than 10 years ago when
there wasn't a 3V.
There wasn't a 3V event, and
Michigan,
it was
the Michigan 3V would race in the 2V event.
It was a huge moment of excitement for the clubs that finally got to race their 3V in the 3V event.
Yep.
And I remember the buzz about who's going to win the inaugural.
So 6:14 for Purdue,
event.
6:21 for Notre Dame, 7 seconds, 6.5 seconds there. Delaware 6:26, GW 6:31, UNC 6:35, Georgia Tech 6:43, and West Point getting back on terms here with a 7:01. As they come here more often, they'll see what the speed is, and they'll
That
respond.
is the experience of a lot of teams that take a year off or take more year or come to ACRA for the first time.
Or have COVID hit.
COVID hit,
and
lose
you
varsity
just
funding.
lose some knowledge that you
Yeah.
had.
Oh,
particularly on the top end. If you lose some of that racing skill that's required at the 1V,
yes,
it can be very interesting very quickly.
And I won't say a lot of teams, but I think it's a prevalent enough idea to come here and be like, oh, it's ACRA, we'll be fine. We'll be fine in the club 8s and show up and
so we have
whiz by you.
We have the second heat going here, and Virginia and Bucknell would see each other, and Rutgers. They've been seeing each other all year. UCLA and UC Santa Barbara will see each other again. And then Boston College sort of off on itself. Out of
First year back after a year off. They finished with Dadvale last year. Back into the swing of things this year, so they're very excited
But
to
let's
be
look
back.
at how tight this is
Oh,
a
yeah.
minute in, right? A minute in. So you're seeing from your left Santa Barbara in lane 6, UCLA in lane 5, Virginia in lane 4, Bucknell, again, getting out in front nicely there in lane 3 over Virginia, Rutgers up in there in lane 2, and then Boston College all the way on the right in lane 1. And a minute and a half in, and everyone is still in contact.
Yeah.
Like, this almost looks like it's final.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking Bucknell and Virginia side by side with each other in
Yet
a
again.
heat. That's
And Rutgers.
yeah.
Those 3 crews have seen each other. They were all started their
Their
season.
GW invite.
Yeah, they were all down in Lehigh, Lehigh Valley, seeing each other at the very beginning with Michigan there as well.
Couple
So
at Connect
this
Cup.
is actually, I mean, to be this far into the race and now barely starting to get some separation.
Is Bucknell.
We will see what happens. Yeah, this is Bucknell up out in front, and Virginia climbing back in. With Rutgers right there, but Virginia maybe having a seat or two at this point. What a great shot!
Yeah, let's give it a
Could you
moment.
imagine? Could you imagine being the goose sitting in that lane and seeing this charge down at you and your 12 babies? There are no geese on this, but there are some famously geese-filled courses like Camden, where you would just this is what they would see.
Last year they might have
climbing
had
down on
some
them.
play in the men's varsity 8.
So Bucknell clearly Dan Wolben has his crews ready for this weekend because they have been charging. They're at 37, 37 and a half. You have 35 in Virginia. You have Rutgers sitting there as well. Just starting to show the parity of some of these programs, right? Virginia may be making a little move, a little push up, but looks like Bucknell here has enough distance. This is some of the best rowing footage I've seen in American regattas. It's
100%.
It's
yeah.
like, right off of there, that is some spectacular drone flying from HereNow to see this regatta. And so colorful as well. It's like
I mean, that's why you're beautiful.
all these colors,
Oak Ridge Rowing Association, Mountain Lake. You got, vistas.
Vistas for
everywhere
days.
you look.
There you go. Thank you, Tennessee Valley Authority. So Virginia, still pushing pretty well, and they have to because Rutgers is right there. I mean, they have Rutgers under control, it seems like, with Virginia. The bucket hats in the stern pair out of Charlottesville. And now, though, if you're so what is that, 5 seats or so for Bucknell, 4 seats, that means that they have enough room to absorb a move if there's a move that Virginia wants to take on there. Very smooth rowing from all 3 crews here up front and starting to get a little bit of separation out. UCLA still in contact with Rutgers, but it looks like Rutgers about to be broken for open water by Virginia as Virginia moves up. Again, just a little bit on Bucknell. This is a very disciplined pair of crews here racing against each other. No one's going to sort of mess it up.
No,
I
of
don't
course
think.
not. No.
And again, then there's the psychology of it, right? So, okay, we're up. Do we need to? Would it be nice to beat Virginia? Sure. I mean, these are people who race. Is Virginia do we want to get and show that we can move when we need to move? Because Virginia is now very much. They have gotten a level of efficiency in their rowing, and they are just moving. You can just see it right now. The boat is just flying. The length through the water is great. They're getting a little bit better, more direct catches, and they're moving right past them.
I think
they just got the
ahead of
blades in.
Bucknell.
All of a sudden, there's more effective length, and they're just going. And that's really, really good coaching on the crews from Frank Biller for them to be able to do that. They look patient. They look tall, and that efficiency is working for them. If they are really going, it's not showing in the rowing that they're, there's not extra stuff that's happening. Just
Right.
some really nice racing going there. And Bucknell also going well. I don't think either crew here is really laying it out all because they know they're going to need to do that in
I think
these
they're giving it
threes. But
enough
they're both going.
because
They're both
Delaware, I'm
going.
sorry, UCLA with the Blue Blades and Rutgers are just close enough. Like Rutgers isn't overlapping, but any less than 99% from Bucknell right now, and they're not going to take your spot, but you don't want them to overlap if you were this far
I'm
ahead.
still willing to bet that those crews are focused on each other, and that Virginia going through. The coxswain was calling something to the effect of, "Okay, I want them now. Like, give them to me now, just like that. Here we go. Yeah, they can't beep 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 beep, beep do anything to us, right?" And there goes Virginia across. Very very nice. Last 500 to 621. Not as fast as the first heat from Purdue, and but the same speed as Notre Dame, who finished second. They were at 621, and you'll have probably a 623,
Okay, yeah.
624 for Bucknell. Rutgers at a 628. So Delaware was faster than Rutgers, and then 631 or so for 629 for UCLA. They pushed back up in a little bit. So some great parity of speed there. Then 642 Santa Barbara and Boston College, sort of finishing things out there. So now we'll go to the third heat, underway right now. On your left, Michigan State. Then in lane 6, Washington lane 5, Michigan in lane 4, Orange Coast in lane 3, Minnesota in lane 2, and Cal Davis. Oops. Yeah, this is
You're right.
heat
You're
3.
correct.
Okay,
Second varsity 8.
gotcha. And there we go. So right now, out in front, we have Michigan and Orange Coast. Michigan in that yellow hull, and Orange Coast with all the white shirts. Those two moving out. Orange Coast looks like they're up just a little bit. They're still up high at a 42.5, 43. A minute and a half in. That's pretty interesting. Michigan is at a 30. 38 or so. So it looks like this is sort of Orange Coast staying high as long as they have to get into their base. They have 3 seats or so, and now they're down at 37. Michigan at about a 38. So maybe a little bit out of their base speed to try and get up there, but this Orange Coast crew just moving very nicely. Michigan and Orange Coast, they're working pretty well. Washington State, an unknown for the Michigan crew, hanging up there with theirs. So there's always a little bit of just, we don't know them. What are they doing? We don't know.
Right.
Is that creating uncertainty for them or not? A great race on the outside with UC Davis and Minnesota. And Davis, again, well coached here. It actually looks here like Michigan, like Washington State is maybe up on Michigan or very even. I think a seat up. And Orange Coast almost getting bow to stern at this point, about 3 minutes in. So that's going to be, I'm going to say, almost to the 1,000.
Yeah, that's impressive. And UC Davis just made a move to get up on Minnesota.
And gets themselves back in.
Which is really impressive to see that, we're over 1K in and have, not 5 crews with overlap, but from
Michigan
the first crew.
taking a move here, seeing if it works. It's got them back into Orange Coast just a little bit. But I tell you, this Washington State crew is hanging in there very assertively.
Yeah, really impressive.
Up at 38 and really sort of pushing. It's hard to tell from here because visually the yellow pops forward and the black hops of the deck of Washington State pops back. Yeah, so it's Washington State.
But be clear, it's not
seat.
an Empacher yellow. It's a Vespoli yellow.
That is Vespoli yellow. Vespoli, thank you very much. That is the Up North, Nawth. A long-time tradition of a bunch of the varsity guys who used to go to the Northern Peninsula.
Oh, fun.
for summer barbecue. Yes, a barbecue of 3 days. So that Washington State crew
I think they're
is pushing very nicely on Michigan. That's a great race, and uh, Orange Coast just sitting up there out in front. Some big, strong guys in that boat.
yeah, they don't need to get as crazy on the rate as their second freshman they did earlier, holding that
No,
39 down the course. I think those
this
guys
is
from
30. This is 37 here. Also, a little bit more experience
yeah,
maybe at
yeah.
the college
Well,
level.
experienced sophomores.
Yeah,
Um,
but but they have a year racing at the college level.
yeah,
Most of them.
yeah,
So
they
it
know what
makes a
they're doing.
difference.
The Cougars from Pullman, I think they're pulling. Yep, they're
They are
pulling ahead
pulling
of
away
Michigan.
from Michigan a little bit. Michigan is going to
and
have to answer and respond.
Minnesota and UC Davis are working their tails off over on the other side, and to good effort, they're still overlapping maybe 2 seats on Michigan. So this is an unreal closest second place race we've had so far today.
So Michigan taking it up now. We'll see what happens as they able to answer and get back up on there. They're up now at about a 40, but it looks like Washington State is holding that lead. So Michigan is going to have to go into the next fastest time group unless they find something. It did look to me like the Michigan crew was short at the release, like they weren't quite swinging through as much as they needed to.
And that might be the edge that Washington State's getting on them.
Maybe a little bit. Just like Michigan style is to get up into the catch angle a lot. But this Washington State crew is there. Also up at 40. This is going to be a pretty, again, sort of 5 crews hanging in there nicely.
All crews in the yellow buoys. I'm sorry, the red buoys
red
indicating
buoys,
the last 250 meters.
Orange Coast. That's they just go across.
Sailing
Washington
along.
State 3rd, Michigan 4th. Orange Coast in a 6:21, which is the same speed as Virginia and Notre Dame. Washington State 6:23, which is the same speed as Bucknell. Michigan at a 6:26, which is the same speed as Delaware. UC Davis at a 6:28. Which is just faster than GW and is the same speed as Rutgers. There's going to be a 6:29 for Minnesota. There's just going to be a lot of close racing.
So Michigan puts themselves third, next fastest time. So third fastest time of the crews that didn't place top 2 in their event. So they're moving easily into the AB semifinal, and then the UC Davis and Minnesota crews, I think, also.
Well, Michigan had the fastest of the next times.
Bucknell. Oh yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So
I was looking at Bucknell.
But barely. They're the same speed as Delaware, basically, at 6:26, and then Rutgers was 6:28.
But then I think Minnesota just edged out George Washington, so they'll be moving on to the AB semifinal rather than GW at the 6:29 compared to 6:31. So really well rowed by Minnesota. And
so
UC
now
Davis
to see
there.
the same event on the women's side, the progression here is not a progression. This is a race for lanes. These are the 7 crews that are in the event. But it's a chance to throw the race down the course before you have to go into the final, get a measure of the crews and what the other crews have. On your left, in lane 7 is West Point. In lane 6 is UC Santa Barbara. In lane 5 is Northwestern. In lane 4 is Vanderbilt. In lane 3 is Purdue. In lane 2 is Bowdoin. And in lane 1 is UC Irvine. And it looks like Bowdoin and Purdue are out in front. Vanderbilt sitting in 3rd right now. Northwestern just maybe a seat ahead of UC Santa Barbara and Army, and Irvine not far off the pack. So again, how do you race this? If I'm the coach, I'm having them race the whole thing.
Oh, 100%. It's
don't want to give anyone a false sense of security.
No false sense of security, and you're here. It's one of 2 races. This one primes you for your final. And knowing college kids, there's nerves, there's jitters, there's all these reasons to go full press into this so that they can perform to their best ability in their final. Right, and nothing's happening now. These are all really seasoned athletes, but a little bit of steering issues, a little bit of issues trying to get the rate to get to where you want for base pace or sprints. Let's work that out now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bowden Coxon, if you look at that course, dead straight on. Purdue is having a little bit of a wiggle fest there in their lane, but so they have better boat speed, but it may be not as matched on the pressure.
Right, right.
And so that makes it. A lot of times people say that's the Coxon. Often these steering issues are mismatched pressure from
Yeah.
side to
Oh,
side.
yeah. No.
And the Coxon is just trying to do what she or he can to get them back into line. So that's going to be quite the three now that it looks like we have.
Yeah. So Bowden, Purdue, and Vanderbilt.
Bowden, Purdue, and Vanderbilt have gotten themselves up into a race, and that's sort of like who we would expect to be in this race right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised.
And they're all within like a seat. I'm a little surprised Northwestern's not further up there.
That's what I was going to say. They had a really great showing last year. It looks like they're really dedicated to the eights this year. I think last year was some
Northwestern, Santa Barbara,
heroics.
and Army showing back
West
up
Point,
in
the
the
cadets.
outside. And so look at those three right through together. Oh, that's great rowing there. That's awesome. Again, Bowden, that's Vanderbilt closest to you that you can see with the yellow and the black. Purdue in the middle, and then Bowden on the far side with the black and white check. Just a little tiny bit of Purdue up there as we're about 4
I think Purdue and
minutes
Vandy
in.
are now looking at the 1 and 2 spots right now in the race. Purdue is just kind of holding their base even
and
through the middle.
There goes Vanderbilt.
There
Again,
they go,
we sort
as
of
they
talked
do.
about this. We've talked about this sort of Michigan race plan, which a number of the programs use because of their coaching pedigree. Vanderbilt very definitely does, and this is where they're putting the move. The idea here is not to win it in 10 strokes, but to take over 300 and 400 meters.
Yeah, because a power
to
10
take
here
300
and there at the
400
collegiate level.
meters to take 3 seats.
Yeah, is especially if you call it out like it's just a 10, then next you can just wait and be like, all right, it's over.
Bowden,
now time for us
Bowden
to answer.
Moving up on Purdue as well. Maybe Purdue tried to take a 10 to answer, and this is this is
Bowden
one of the reasons not to call 10s.
Right.
If you're a younger coach.
Bowden and Purdue are just about going stroke for stroke right now. I think a little bit off rhythm together, but I think the same stroke rate, whereas Vanderbilt is just a beat up. Coxon is fully engaged, looking around at the other crews, not sweating them, but instead just making sure that their race plan gets into full effect. Another great Vespoli shell charging through. They're just about to come up to the 1,500 meter mark.
That's some very nice rowing out of the woman in bow there. Blade going right in. Bow is very hard. It's the bounciest of the.
It's
of
bouncy.
The
you got to be really technical to hold that seat down.
A little bit further off the water sometimes.
I can
the
think
boat
of
surges there, right?
I can think of so many young athletes who think there's a real reason behind where you're in some seats, but I think a lot of them
don't realize that bow is actually
misattribute what that means, right? I think a lot of coaches are looking like, I need two of my best technical athletes in the boat to be in bow. And a crew like this, where it's so deep and they've had so much success, I think every athlete knows, like, if I'm in this boat, my seat matters, right?
They're used to novice fall, where the worst rowers are in bow because they're the ones who are the most out of rhythm, and it's the least disruptive. But in the varsity level and up here, and even at the novice level, at this level, the bow is. That's just been. You can actually see this is that race plan, right? It hasn't been
Vanderbilt
sudden.
making
it
a
hasn't
move.
Been Vanderbilt has been making a long extended press as they're now into the red buoys, and that wasn't yet a sprint. That was just a press to see where they go. Again, do times really matter here? Not so much. Just this is about lanes and who's going to be where. On the course tomorrow.
Yeah.
And pretty much they're going to come up and line up in pretty much the same way.
Yeah, it's lanes, but it's also, got some upperclassmen in that boat. Like, it's your last year. It's your final ACRA championship. Let's give it 2 really good races And
You
I,
may
I
have
think
some freshmen having their very first race
it
at a
might
national
be,
championship.
and Vanderbilt in the V8 has been winning the last few years, but there's a lot of talk about Purdue this year. I think they want to say, hey, they're in the conversation, but
And
we're
Purdue
in this too.
and Purdue and Bowdoin have not gotten totally destroyed in that move.
No, no.
It just was enough to control. I mean, you only need to win by an inch, and that's more than an inch, right?
So that's
Great race from those three.
great race. The second half of this group is going to be pulling up, I believe, Northwestern leading that pack, but they lost the vantage point. Oh no, so that's going to
It's
be
Army.
Army coming up.
Army on the outside did a really nice move there.
Well done by the
We saw
cadets.
them. Yep, absolutely. The here we are. So Purdue and Bowdoin within 0.6 of each other, 5.5 of each other. West Point another, 12 seconds back, but maybe they'll have learned that they have something today that they can bring tomorrow.
Right.
And then they all have to turn around and re-race it, so we'll see what's going on there. So now we're up into the next race, which should be the men's
varsity 8 heat number 1. From the left side of your screen to the right, we have West Point in lane 6, Washington State, Purdue in the middle lane, the first top-seeded crew, Fordham in lane 3, and Boston College in lane 2. And it looks like right now, classic Chevron, Purdue leading the pack, Washington State and Fordham very close together in the middle, Boston College slightly ahead of West Point. So the progression here is going to be that the top 2 make it through to the AB semifinal. The next 8 fastest times make it to the AB semifinal. Everything after that goes to the DE semifinal. So that first one will select for A, B, and C semis.
And there are 5 heats here.
5 heats, very deep. This is the premier event on the men's side. The women's 8 will be the premier event on the women's side. And Purdue has been leading the charge. Great season so far at the Connect Cup. They were bouncing around with some Division I, Division III programs who maybe took them for granted and put themselves in medaling position. Washington State always has a really good presence here. Fordham, second year here. Last year shocked a lot of people with, whoa, I didn't realize he'd show up this
Didn't
fast.
know I had to pay attention to Fordham.
And I know they're all looking at him now, and for good reasons. This crew is so well trained, disciplined, and a little over 1K in. I think they have a lot more in the tank.
Yep. And Army showing back up again here. This crew, not huge.
In size, yeah.
In size. Not huge in size. Sort of lightweightish guys, but you look at that power and that control, they just know how to race. And we saw that. I was able to be at the Royal Henley with them in England last year, sitting on the banks a lot with their coach Jack, and just watching them race. They are really good racers.
Yeah, clearly.
And he has them all back, I believe.
I think, yeah, almost that whole V8 that chased down Virginia last spring. Boston College Eags are also back for the first time in a year with the new coach. Max Ewing's guys are out there on the course, laying down a really good varsity 8 heat. I think one of 3 8s that they brought down this weekend.
So
they're going to be fighting it out with West Point.
Looks right now like Washington State getting a few seats over Fordham there.
Just a few, yeah. I think that's about 4 from the actual side-by-side. It looks like a little bit less right now on this slight angle. But, yeah, I think these Cougars out of Pullman are just doing a really good job pulling on the handle and just keeping that boat on the run.
And, again, this is the top 2 in each heat, plus 8 times.
Plus 8, yeah.
Plus 8 times.
So
there
are
5
heats,
ABC
top
finals. 2 is 10, and then 8 more. They could have done it as the top 2 and the next 2.
Yeah.
But they want to make sure in the varsity 8 in particular that they are able to get a big group there, right?
Get a big group, and there's 5 finals worth of crews here. So there's a lot to sort out for. The all crews are through the 1500-meter mark. Purdue is not doing anything exceptional in this last eighth of the race, but that front end to move, they don't really need to open up their hips so aggressively because they're already picking up so much in the front end early body swing, and that's why they're just walking away on the field. I think Washington State is still pushing themselves up and away from Fordham. Fordham holding on to Wash State and holding themselves very far away from the rest of the field. I think they're going to make a move. Just looking how the legs go down, hands come out. Going to get every last second, tenth of a second, hundredth of a second out of this piece to make sure they get to that ABC semifinal because they were very close to B final last year and just had a really tough repechage. It looks like Boston College neck and neck with West
And
Point.
here Purdue just shutting down, just rowing nicely across the line. Really, no sprint there at all.
No sprint, calm 6:10. We'll
There
see
you
what
go.
that becomes. The next two pieces they have to do on the course, and Wash State, a little bit of separation. So time to
Washington
beat.
State 6:18, and then
I'm gonna say time to qualify is
Fordham
6:22
6:22.
on the Fordham side. Time to beat is 6:10 for other varsity eights that are out here today.
Yep. So we'll go back up to Heat 2. Probably already underway a little bit. In Lane 6, Northwestern. Lane 5, Michigan. Lane 4, Bucknell. Lane 3, Minnesota. Lane 2, Santa Barbara. And Lane 1, Connecticut. Oh, they're still actually on. We're going to actually get to
Oh, that's
see
great.
the
We haven't
start
seen that
here.
in a minute.
And they're off. Just to note, this is sort of unique. The three top-seeded crews here, Bucknell, Minnesota, and Michigan, they are
Ooh.
the crews from the three executive board members of ACRA racing each other. So no one pulled any advantages out
No,
by
they
being on
didn't.
the executive
Gave
board.
themselves one of the hardest heats they could.
Absolutely. So Bucknell has beaten Michigan this year. Minnesota has beaten Michigan twice this year. And we don't know how that's going to sort of work out in there. It looks right now like we have Minnesota up
a little bit
over Bucknell and Michigan right in there, but also UC Santa Barbara in lane 2 out there, 4 crews across.
So for anyone joining in from left to right side of your screen, you're going to have Northwestern, Michigan, Rowing Association in lane 5 over there, Bucknell in 4, Minnesota in 3, UC Santa Barbara in 2, and University of Connecticut in lane 1.
Absolutely, and the expectation here is that Bucknell is the top seed, but Minnesota really off to a great start. They've been gaining some confidence this year with some of the results they've had. They'd never beaten Michigan before.
And they did this year?
And they did twice this year. So,
really? Wow. Coach
so
Scott
sort
Armstrong lays down a really
good sign
foundation
for them and getting excited. And UC Santa Barbara up there also. UC Santa Barbara has won the ACRA before in the varsity 8. I wonder who coached them. But they have been off the speed for a little bit, and now to see them back in this class of speed is pretty good. So we'll see what happens. It's about the point where you start to ask, did Minnesota go out faster on Bucknell, and can they hold it? Bucknell is sort of moving back up. Is Michigan getting ready to make a move? Is this UC Santa Barbara's real speed? All of that will be answered right now in about the next minute or two. It does look like UC Santa Barbara pushing up seed or 2 on Michigan. It looks very much like Bucknell has come back up to move through Minnesota, and there just need to be some answers here about what's going to happen and see where the speed is. But those two front crews, Minnesota and Bucknell, just able to get out in front. Bucknell having put a very nice move here. That would be Tyler Leong, the coxswain, who rode for Eddie here. And and is in his 4th year, I think, at 3rd or 4th year. But he was in the 1V last year for them as well.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So
Second year coxswain in the 1V, junior on the program.
junior on the program. That's right. It looks like Michigan now moving up and moving through Santa Barbara, but Minnesota, Bucknell having moved through Minnesota. So does that make Minnesota vulnerable at all? Michigan taking a nice move here to be in 3rd, but Minnesota showing some great speed, and Bucknell very smooth, very clean. There's Tyler. Just look at the relaxation of that stroke. What I love
Right.
is if you watch the stern pair out of that Bucknell 1V, they're just hanging
Yeah.
on that. Look at that stroke, just hanging, and it's so efficient. A lot of rowers, if you're a junior rower watching this and you think that the goal at the front end is just to go as fast and as hard and as pushy as you can, this stroke is showing you actually it's to be as locked and
As
pressy
locked and
you
connected
can.
as you can, because every little bit that they move the heel, or every ounce of pressure they move into the heels, moves the shell the other way. So it's
Yeah.
really, really efficient.
Now Tyler is letting his body weight get moved there a little bit, Coach. We'll see, but not that much.
I can go back to the video, see that who was it, the Vanderbilt Bowden coxswain?
Yeah,
How they lock
absolutely in
in.
place,
Because
locked in.
that coxswain, you know why? Because they had a really good hinge in the hips.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm sure all these guys have been hearing all year long from their coaches, how to hinge the hips, hold the body.
So
But
Michigan
not to the
having
detriment of his
moved into 3rd here on UCSB. UCSB showing more speed than they have in recent
Yeah,
years,
really.
which is great to see. And UCSB sort of pushing back. We're at about 5 minutes here with 400 meters to go or so. So that's going to sit them at about 6:20, which is about where the times have been. So that should be good to see.
Yeah, UC Santa Barbara really absorbing anything that Michigan's pulling at them right now. Not too frantic, but we are about to hit the red buoys. And Cruiser best
It
will lay
was
something on the line.
Purdue set up a 6:10.
That's right.
Again, Michigan out in front of UC Santa Barbara, but it's tight and very definitely gorgeous move over that second half of the race from Bucknell to move on open water now on Minnesota. So sort of another Dan Walbin's another one. When you talk to him, he's like, well, I don't know, we'll wait and see. And undernet, he's one of the most competitive in a very best possible way.
100, yeah.
Guy, all these coaches at this level are. But he's, I don't know, we'll see. So they're going to go around about 6:18 or 6:19.
Go, and that's the line.
So 6:18 was Washington State's speed as well. So Bucknell 6:19. Michigan comes in 3rd, and that's going to be probably about a 6:30. Yep, a 6:30. 6:30. Fordham was a 6:22 before them, but Boston College was 6:36. So again, lots of crews to be able to move forward. Bucknell the same basic speed as Washington State in the first heat. Northwestern 6:45.
And that'll have UConn rounding it out.
Yep.
Maybe just a bit above 7.
So we will point out that Bucknell, Minnesota, and Michigan, the crews of the executive committee of the ACRA board, did actually end up 1, 2, and 3. So maybe this was actually a conspiracy there. We go on to Heat 3.
That's it. Take it to the comments if you think it is.
There
All
we
right,
go.
moving on to
Thank
Heat
you.
3.
On your left, we have in lane 6 Rhode Island, in lane 5 George Washington, lane 4 Notre Dame, lane 3 Rutgers, lane 2 North Carolina, and lane 1 New Hampshire. Again, at the varsity level, you're not going to see a huge amount of separation in the first minute and a half or so. Everyone can get out of the blocks for the most part. Sitting
It's
here,
really
though,
who can sustain it once you stride down into your base pace.
Yeah.
And who lets it go.
Who can carry the watts and the joules into the base.
Right.
And who was just using rating to get through, maybe a little bit too much. Or the goal often in the start is if the other crew is ahead, they either are just faster than you and you can't control it, or you've made them spend too much energy.
Yeah, yeah,
And if some crews have to get out in front, you can goad them into going too hard,
of course.
which is has been known to happen from time to time. Uh, so we have Notre Dame out in front here. It seems about a minute and a half into the place with Rutgers right next to them, and then George Washington and UNC in a pretty good race. Again, these are seeded, so we are seeing the chevron. But what we don't know, for example, is George Washington faster than UNC right now? Is Rutgers actually faster than Notre Dame, or is Notre Dame faster than Rutgers? And we'll see what happens as they go through. Again, two automatically going forward into those ABC semifinals, and then another 8 crews to make it into that. So you want to see some barn burner racing. It's going to be tomorrow afternoon
Absolutely.
in the semifinals for this men's varsity 8, because it's already tight in these races where everyone's there. And I think you'll see some good D and E semifinals as well as a result. So again here, Notre Dame moving out another seat or two maybe over Rutgers as we come to about 2:45 in the race or so. So they should be 800 meters in or something like that, and trying to go get the race. The really close race there between GW and UNC. And what you'll notice now is that these are all East Coast or close Midwest or Southern teams. I mean, these are all crews that could have seen each other this spring if they wanted, even though New Hampshire, I guess, is fairly far up in New England. But the regional there's no regional information taken into account here at all.
Well, no, because they're
It's
actually
a
ranked.
straightly ranked
Yeah.
seeded event.
So yeah, if you've been on the same coast all year and you end up ranked in the 2 away from each other, you end up with the same heat. That's just because that's the speeds you all are at. I'm sorry, I just put over my words. Yeah, Notre Dame, they won the men's varsity 8. That was 24, I believe. That was their first time doing that. Rutgers has yet to take the win. George Washington won in 22 for the first time.
That was the year after
retaining
the year after they were cut from varsity.
Yeah, their first year
as a
after
club.
D1, and they made a successful move into the club program and have been up here one of the faster programs. At least
They've
in the
had
varsity
a coaching change. He's in his second year now.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic
and
job.
so the first year you just try and keep your head above
Yeah.
water, honestly.
UNH back for the first time in a while in the 8s. They row up on the Oyster River in New Hampshire, and it's been, what is it? It has been sediment buildup. It's in need of a dredging, so they're not able to row at low tide. So they're kind of like the UCSB program you were talking about earlier, where the body of water has totally changed
What they
the
can
ability
do. Yeah.
that they can train. But they're back in full force. URI is also back in full force for a couple of years here. So they're making a good showing, but we'll probably be moving to the DEF semifinal.
So both these crews in Empokers, the German fancy gents, we have
the Germans.
We have Rutgers making a little move here, and their guys are on the shore right next to us, and they are yelling loud. They shouldn't stop because, I mean, isn't this where it is? Come on, guys, let's go going. There you go. Rutgers making a nice move here. Rutgers actually starting, I bet you Rutgers is going to catch Notre Dame here. Rutgers just had a gear shift there, and they've made Notre Dame have to respond, but they may have caught Notre Dame sleeping a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean,
it's neck and
hard
neck.
to tell neck to neck, but they it's good. That's good confidence for a crew that you want to see. Sometimes, we could move when we need to move. Coxon asked us to move, and we did. So it's going to be close to see who goes there. Maybe it looks like Notre Dame's gotten back out in front. It's hard to tell from the angle here on the see, it's hard to tell from until the drone gets in exactly the right move. But if you look at the
Rutgers might be
Rutgers
finishing this up.
maybe a bow ball ahead of Notre
That last
Dame.
buoy's closing in
That's
on
just
them.
great. It is, and I think Rutgers actually
I think they're squeezing ahead.
is squeezing out and is going to take it by about a seed or two here at the final. And they're going to go about 6:18, 6:17.
Well done by Rutgers.
So nice move there, Rutgers. And 6:17 for them. So about the same speed as Bucknell and Washington State. Notre Dame at 6:18. So some good speed there. New Hampshire, George Washington at 6:27, which is about the speed of Minnesota and Michigan, and then UNC 6:29. Again, we have 2 more heats to go, and we're trying to count 8 spots. And right now, those 8 spots are Fordham,
George Washington, UNC, Michigan, UCSB, and BC are the next closest cluster. I think any crew over 640 is probably not going to hold on.
You're going to have to be.
I
UCSB
think
maybe is the right there, 633.
Crews
Boston
above
636.
633 are hoping that a headwind picks up or something, because it's going to be tough, right? It's a really tight field.
Exactly.
Really impressive going back to Fordham that they've really not knowing they're just racing their race, asserted themselves pretty far ahead of the pack at that 622, closer to some of the first place times.
There you go.
These heats.
So,
Heat 4 is now on the course, and we'll see.
On
your
your left is Florida in lane 6, Middlebury in lane 5, Orange Coast in lane 4, Delaware in lane 3, Michigan State in lane 2, and UMass in lane 1. Again, Orange Coast, interesting, and they have freshmen and sophomores only to play with. Mostly probably a sophomore crew here. Cameron, their coach, was saying that. Yeah, so, how do you think they're going? He says, well, I think on a good day we can really, we could beat
anybody.
He's saying particularly Purdue.
Yeah.
That we could beat Purdue or give them a really good race, and maybe that won't be who shows up, because after all, these are some young guys.
Yeah. Really great to see Florida with an 8. I know they weren't able to do one last year. I think they prioritized the quad, maybe some academic focus, right? Your finals and graduation overlapping with it.
Yeah.
So they're great to see them back in.
And your own UMass.
You are UMass alums on the microphone. They're actually also back in the 8 this year. This is Coach Bigelow's second
year
or third year. I'm gonna say second year with the program. Sorry, Coach, if I got that wrong. But they won the Small Boats Trophy last year for the first time because they focused on the 4, the straight 4. And the goal was, hey, this is what we want to do. Dedicated group of seniors wanted to finish out that way with the goal of let's build back up to be an 8th program next year.
And now here they are.
And now they hear the fleet looks nicely touched up,
and
ready for time on the course.
Not to take anything away from the small boats, but in the varsity 8 that you were seeing the best guys in the regatta.
Yeah, and not to take away from it, but it's also a program is one of those COVID things. A program that used to be 2, 3, 4 8s deep here, and a little bit of COVID, a little bit of change in coaching. They want to make sure that they bring that back, because that's what the alumni told them is really important.
So
about
coming into
team.
3 minutes, just short of the 1,000-meter mark here, you have actually a pretty tight race here between Orange Coast and Delaware.
And Middlebury is not to be forgotten in this conversation.
Middlebury is in there right away as well. And then Michigan State is not that far off. Now, Michigan State had a really good freshman crew last year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is that speed is probably going to show itself here. A lot of those guys probably worked their way up into one of these top 2 8s. Middlebury has new coaching staff on board this year, so I'm sure this men's varsity 8 and women's 8 are going to give everyone a run for their money. Might be this year's Fordham.
Yeah, when you start to see a small school like Middlebury invest in actually what's happening, the school work to make that position one where you could coach and also
work
be
for the university,
a fundraiser for the university for athletics. So you could actually have someone come in and have a job.
Yeah, to the point where
do it.
Middlebury's pushing themselves ahead of Delaware right now. Which
they are right now. There's
I don't think
the cow the cow.
Yeah, the iconic cow blade.
Iconic cow blades. There you go.
I don't
And
think the best coaches here who are among these cruise coaches underestimated anyone, but it's a
I'm
little
not
bit of a
sure they
dark
would
horse.
say. I'm not sure they would think Middlebury would be pushing in for an
Hey,
automatic.
Coach
You
Knoll
know?
is here to prove a point. He really built Tufts into the powerhouse that it is today before handing it off to some other longtime coaches, including George Munger, who is an ACRA alum, Minnesota, proud
Yep.
through and through. So really happy to see this great move. And honestly, I think they're going to take this punch all the way up to Orange Coast. Why not?
They are. I mean, they're moving very nicely here as they go through. You saw just see Orange Coast responding a little bit. Their rating just went up as they started to see. They're now at 38 as they were seeing Middlebury also at a 38 move on them. And but they've been able to respond because they had enough there, and so enough room to absorb.
What are they at now?
Are
they taking that
they're all
second freshman eight's advice and going to the 39?
They are at a 39. They're at a 40 in Orange Coast. Middlebury at a 39. These guys are going after
Middlebury in the Philippi 8. I think that is the first one we've seen this weekend.
Michigan was in a Philippi in the last heat, 2 heats ago.
8?
Yeah.
Really? All right. My words, I'm eating them. Michigan State, not to be forgotten on that outside. This is probably going to break some
But Michigan
hopes
State, if that
heats.
is a sophomore crew largely, that's what you're seeing now. They're able to put 1,500 down, but the last little bit is good, but it's not what it needs to be yet at the varsity
It's
level.
really good. It's just they're already off the pace.
Yeah, and that they're just young. So this would make sense. Again, Orange Coast really hanging out there in front nicely, with Middlebury having made a really, really impressive move there against Delaware. And so 6:02 here coming into the Red Buoys. I think we're going to, again, see about the same times we've been seeing, just under 6:20, or right about even faster. So Orange Coast went at 6:10.
That is matching Purdue's fastest time on the course.
Which means that Middlebury is fast
at
6:12. Wow. So faster than I thought, but those ratings were up there. They were both pushing. It'll be interesting to see where Delaware comes in, because they'll probably now have the fastest next time at 6:17.
So that's going to put them at the fastest
Yep.
at-large time.
That is the fastest at-large time, which means that Michigan State at 6:24 is faster than Michigan, is the same speed as Fordham.
Who came in after that?
Michigan State there at 6:24.
Oh, okay, and then it was a pretty big gap. So
yeah,
then,
and faster than GW. So there's going to be some fast racing going on.
Yeah, Florida 650. So your next 8 right now, 617 Delaware, 622 Fordham,
617 and 624 sort of became a new standard.
627 GW, 629 Michigan, 630. I'm sorry, UNC 630 Michigan, 633 UCSB, 636 BC.
And one more heat to go.
I think if anyone in this heat goes above 630, I think they're looking at a whole different final.
You got to go under 630 to make it into the top 18.
And it's going to be a fast final. We have them. Are they off the blocks? They are off the blocks from the left side to the right side of your screen. Lane 6, Virginia Tech. Lane 5, UC Davis. Lane 4, Virginia. Lane 3, UCLA. Lane 2, Georgia Tech. And Lane 1, Penn State. Virginia being your reigning champion in the varsity 8 at ACRA. And potentially one of the, I think they like to think, no, that's not true. They're not. They're humble. I think the polls say they're one of the top 3 crews coming into this weekend. Are they not off the blocks yet? I've seen a ghost then.
We might have seen a ghost, or maybe.
I've seen a ghost.
Oh, no, there they are. It was just so right now we have UCLA up in front of Virginia at about a minute and a half into the race. And then UC Davis and Georgia Tech. UC Davis on your left, Georgia Tech in the yellow boat on your right. I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. And those two out in front, UCLA and Virginia. This in the seed is where you have seeds 5 and 6. And then you have a break. And then you have another break. It's sort of you have 3 pairs of crews. that end up in a seed, and that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing UCLA and Virginia up there, and 2 minutes in, they're now both open water up on Georgia Tech, excuse me, and UC Davis, who are even, and then Penn State and Virginia Tech are even back in the third spot. UCLA, maybe a couple of seats in front of Virginia. Nice and long and patient. Look at the recovery rhythm. If you've never seen this, you can see a little bit more push out of Virginia. The blades sort of swoop back a little bit quicker than UCLA. And Virginia may be taking another seat back here. So maybe what we're seeing is a 10 being called, a move being called on the course getting back even, and UCLA just looking a little bit more patient. Both programs have won the Varsity 8 in recent memory, and so it's going to be good. It looks like, again,
UCLA being your 23 champion.
Yep. Virginia getting just a little bit, maybe, no, it's actually still UCLA by less than a seat, just a bow ball up there. And pretty good speed behind those two from UC Davis and Georgia Tech. It's just their open water back. So coming into 3:30 and about, I'm going to say, 1,200 meters, that's about on speed.
Yeah. I think we're going to see UCLA and Virginia both take it to each other. I think both of them want to win this heat. Top two is not good enough.
But UCLA now taking a couple of seats on Virginia, and you can just see now they're 3 seats up. It was a bow ball. So this is a nice move by UCLA in the middle. Again, that nice hanging squeeze, little bit more swing through, a little bit more blades going directly and right in, little bit of hang in Virginia's blade. Just
and I think
what tiny differences, but at this level, those tiny differences are what
makes. They matter 100%. And I think we're going to see them come in under the 6:15 mark because UCLA and Orange Coast have been duking it out so often this year together. And I think from what I learned and saw some results, Orange Coast winning a few more of those matchups than UCLA did. So I think UCLA is like, we're not in their shadow right now. Like, let's put down the best time we can. Let's get ahead of all these other East Coast, Midwest crews. So really well approached here, and we're in the last quarter of the race, 500 meters to go. So if there's any stops that are going to get pulled out, they'll be happening right now. A little bit of a pickup in Virginia's rate, just a little bit more aggressive. The crews in that second field, UC Davis and Georgia Tech.
The stroke from UCLA is looking over every seat, every stroke he's looking over at Virginia and just checking it out. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a show of a racer in some ways. A lot of people say, "Don't look out of the boat, don't look out of the boat," but he's not doing it in a way where he's freaking out. He's just measuring speed, I think, and saying we need a little bit more.
Yeah, both crews he can talk to the Cox about it.
Both crews digging in here by rowing better, not
UC
just
Davis
by rowing
making
harder.
a really big move on Georgia Tech back in that third, fourth spot.
Yep.
I think they're going to end up a little bit ahead of them. Georgia Tech trying to respond, but keyword being trying. I think it's going to be maybe a seat, maybe just the deck of a shell.
Yep. And here's
really good
you
move.
Can see Virginia, just the blade work not as crisp. A little bit more anxiety on the blade, a little bit more sort of hang, particularly in 6, the blade not getting right down in. And that's all the differences. So if you're a junior rower watching this and your coach is telling you not to sky, like that's why right there. That's the difference right there.
They're gonna ask ChatGPT instead.
Yeah, well, have you had rowers asking ChatGPT this year?
Don't think so, and
please don't do that.
If they do,
please
they better not tell me.
Yeah, please don't do that.
6:14. Hey, who called it?
There you go. 6:14 UCLA, 6:15
well
to Virginia,
done.
Which means the other crews are going to be about 10 seconds back, 8 seconds back, I think.
So that's going to knock
6:22 for Davis.
Ooh. 6:24
for Georgia Tech. So who gets knocked off the bottom there?
Let's see what happens after that. Okay, so I think next 4 to go: Delaware, Fordham, UCD, Georgia Tech, Michigan State, George Washington, UNC, Michigan, if my calculations are correct. Those are
Michigan
all
is the last crew to make it in.
UCSB and BC are moving down to the next semifinal
Wow.
below, despite great effort.
Yeah.
Really, really impressive. And that's why we race, right? 5 heats of
Varsity men's eights.
heat. Everyone
Exactly.
bringing the heat.
And having to go fast, and that's everyone sort of knew that. So now we'll see what happens in the next racing tomorrow.
And then see what will happen next with Middlebury women in one of the middle lanes for the women's varsity 8 heat number 1 that is just moving off the blocks right now. This is ranked, so they took it to New England Rowing Championship, NIRC, and showed up and surprised some people. Some of those D3 programs and MIT were looking back at like, wait,
Who?
Who's on our bow?
Who? Moo who?
So we got on
West
the left
Point
side of
Army
your
in
screen,
lane 6. Yep.
Bowdoin in lane 5, Middlebury in lane 4, UC Irvine in lane 3, Michigan State in lane 2, and University of New Hampshire in lane 1.
And in this women's varsity 8, we have 3 heats. Yep. So again, they're taking the top 2. That'll give them 6, and then the next 6 fastest times to an AB semifinal. So again, looking for the top 2 here, and then looking for speed after that. So Middlebury right now out at a 37, getting a little bit of lead, probably just coming out of their sprint and hitting their base. And very nicely done, 36. And I think Middlebury is like 2,000 students, right?
It is one of the smaller schools here. Bucknell wants to pride themselves on being a small school. Middlebury gets to take that same pride.
Let's check. Hey Siri, how many students are there at Middlebury College?
Or Middlebury athletes, if anybody wants to come over and ask us any. How many students are on Middlebury's campus?
That would be 2,800 at Middlebury, larger than they were, but they are establishing something quite nice here at 2 minutes in. Open water ahead of the field. The rest of the field is overlapped, so that's New Hampshire, Michigan State, Irvine, Bowdoin, and West Point, all in contact there. But Middlebury just out in front. Middlebury known very well for its languages. I would like to give a shout out to my cousin Lyda Winfield, who's the dance instructor there on Middlebury campus. Go take a dance class; it'll be better for your rowing. There's some Middlebury women sitting behind us watching, and Lyda is awesome.
Establish a pretty big lead in this first heat of the first heat of the 8. So there's Middlebury out in lane 4. And a really close race for second between Bowdoin and UC Irvine.
No, and West Point. That's West Point out there in lane 6, who seems to be in second right now.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. So Bowdoin and West Point fighting it out.
And Irvine is back.
Very close.
But West Point right now is in second. For showing up here, they've been rowing really well in these varsity 8s. So excited to see that. And as we know, they are going to be, if nothing else, strong and in shape. If nothing else, right? Also, you got to have some pretty good smarts to get into any of the service academies. So a pretty great race here between Bowdoin and West Point, and Middlebury now just moving further and further away, just dominating. I haven't seen a race like this in the heats in the varsity 8 for a while. Even
the Vanderbilt wins.
Vanderbilt rowing well they were actually out fairly easily last year as well, I think. So we'll see what happens in the
You're right.
heats.
This West Point crew is really
But the West
really
Point crew
taking
a move. They are very nice patient rowing. They're getting in and using the legs to push. And you can see a difference if you want to sort of actually catch a difference. Look at how that white mound attaches to the blade when it goes in, and you see a very nice sort of patient move out of West Point. Although Bowden's connection to the water also nice. It looks like a strong crew. It
Absolutely.
looks like some strong women in that boat moving. Also, maybe not a surprise from the military academy here. The cow print oars of Bowden, of Middlebury, just moving along very nicely, easily out in front. Very good connection. Look at the sixth woman. That's the third woman from the top that you see there. Often that engine room in the middle of the boat, that's where you see what's happening, and that that Middlebury engine room, just very, very nice.
We got lineups in
Uh,
front of us. That's Gianna Kanek throwing it down for the middle of that shell.
Excellent. That's true. We should give out where we think, and Rachel Pelham right behind her, along with Elizabeth Graziani uh, and Lynn Lewis in five. Though that middle of that boat moving so nicely, just really good power there.
Yeah, really well done. West Point is establishing a bigger lead on their opponents in this last five, or entering this last 500. Bowdoin is also starting to push themselves away from UC Irvine a little bit more, and the three of them all overlapping. So when the sprint comes up, anything could happen. Irvine could make a pretty big move here. A little bit behind that is your UNH crew. A little bit behind that is your Michigan State Club crew.
So, not that we want them to leave ACRA, but Middlebury administrators, if you are watching, you should make this a varsity program because they would be instantly competitive at a national level in Division III. There's no doubt in my mind.
No doubt in our mind. But hey, while they're here,
This
let's
is
enjoy 'em
ACRA,
on
baby.
Oak
This
Ridge.
is club rowing. Here we go, and we're making it look pretty good here. Just some very nice, patient,
Yeah.
powerful rowing going on here.
You know, and you can
for
speak to this
Middlebury.
like national competitive capability, awesome. But there is a lot of pride in having a student-run organization and being a coach of a program that
Oh,
you're at
absolutely.
the helm, but it's at the
I do
ability
think
to
I do
create
think on
student
the I do
leaders.
think on the women's side though, there's just been this assumption with the NC2A, even more than the IRA for the men, that well, there's no way a club could even be close to what we do. And yes, there are no women's clubs who are going to be in any place close to Tennessee and any place close to Stanford,
Right.
because you have women who are coming from national team and Olympic experience at UW, at Washington, and stuff like that. But at the Division III level, it's
Right.
still totally accessible. So 708.
And
Uh,
Noel knows that,
yeah,
being
yeah,
long-term D3
exactly.
coach.
And then West Point second at 723. Bowdoin at a 726. Some very, very nice racing there. Irvine 730. Michigan State 739. And again, the top two go through. So West Point shows up and gets themselves into the AB final, which is great. And now we have Heat 2 of the women's varsity 8.
So from the left side of your screen to the right side, you're going to be seeing Long Beach State and the women's 8. Great to see them up in the 8. Florida Institute of Technology. Hey, there they are. They moved up to an 8 after being so successful in the women's varsity for the last 2
Absolutely.
years. Purdue in the women's 8, lane 4. I think they're in the lead right now.
Yep.
Very close by, University of Cal Santa Barbara. And lane 2 is Tulane. How funny is that?
Yep.
And lane 1 is UC Davis.
2 lane, which is great. So here we see Purdue moving out into by 2.5 minutes, open water now over UCSB. So again, you would expect to see middle crews controlling the race as they did, although clearly West Point was underseeded, but I don't think they had very many
I
results
don't.
to
Yeah,
base it on.
I think that's right.
They have
And
trouble traveling as much as some
they're
of the other.
busy.
They're,
They
I don't
got their
know,
own thing going
and
on.
there's a war going on, things like that. So you gotta.
Glad they're here with us.
We are glad they're here with us and making the world safer by rowing well.
And
Um,
Purdue's ears must have been burning about, wow, I can't believe a crew would set such a big pace on the rest of the field. And they're trying to do the same thing to their crews right now. To their credit, UCSB is not overlapping, but holding on as close as they can and asserting themselves in front of the rest of the field. But we're in a really good spot right now, just past the 1K.
and Purdue at about 34 and a half, maybe 34. UCSB about the same. So there we can see Purdue again, very nice motion, 36 actually. So they've got the rating up to push off 36 and a half. Very nice motion in this Purdue crew. We'll see about where they are. They're at 3:45, 3:47 as they're coming in to past 1,000. Just past 1,000 now. So things should be pretty good there. Again, very gorgeous. You can see the slanting lines on across their blade. For many years, Purdue had a blade that was gold and black.
Yes.
Looked sort of like the Princeton blade. Now they've shifted to this white blade with
They've
the gold and black.
engineered
They've engineered a new
the most ergonomical blade
to
design they could.
locomote themselves down the course, and you can see very nice, sort of easily out in front. And you see UCSB's blades coming in there now. UCSB open water on FIT in front of Tulane. Tulane probably even with Long Beach State, and then I'm sorry, that's UC Long Beach State and UC Davis, and then it is Tulane a little bit back behind that. Didn't quite see the UC Davis crew until they came in there. So Chevronesque. Here's the Gauchos from Santa Barbara. Again, you can see the blades not quite lining up as nicely as the Purdue blades do. Little bit of missing water, so the crew needing to get the blade in the water a little sooner in the cycle. Not so much, not here to criticize that, but just if you're watching to try and let you figure out if you can see the difference in what's happening with the blades. Here the blades, boom, right in on time. And if you're a junior rower watching, that's why that work around the catch, the point in the catch is not so much just to pound on it and get the blade in quick, but you have to get it in rhythm. You've got to get it in at the right time in the stroke cycle, so it goes right into the reach where it's supposed to be, and you can see what's going on there. Some overlap here in the back between FIT and Long Beach and Davis, and then Tulane a little bit back. So pretty nice move out there by Purdue. We'll see where they line up in comparison to Middlebury in that first heat, as they are able to come across Middlebury again, when a 7:08. And we'll see where this Purdue crew comes. I think they're going to be a little bit faster. We'll see. 7:02, 7:03. It's going to be fairly close in time there. You'll see about when they stop rowing hard. Nope, they're going to be over 7:10. They're about 7:13, someplace like that, was when they stopped pushing. We'll see a time soon showing up on the results. Yep, 7:11. So about 3 seconds, 2 seconds behind Middlebury time-wise, but functionally the same time in that sense. when they next to each other, we'll see then back UCSB to 725, which is about the same speed as West Point went, a little bit slower. FIT comes in at a 736, uh, which is slower than Irvine, and but in front of Michigan State. And again, the progression here for these varsity women's 8 is the top 2 and then the next 6.
Right.
So there's a fair amount of grace in there to be able to find your place in. The third and final heat of the women's varsity 8 has got some good racing in here. It's going to be WashU, Rhode Island, Vanderbilt, who were last year's champions, Northwestern, Orange Coast, and Georgia Tech. So we'll see if the Orange Coast women have the same ability to move that the Orange Coast men have. That'll be interesting to see as we go here into this last race. And they're about a minute and a half in to the race. The image is from the drones is stopped. But so reading from that particular image, what you have is Georgia Tech on the left, Orange Coast next to them, Northwestern in third, Vanderbilt in fourth, Rhode Island in lane 2, and then WashU on the far side. Northwestern, Vanderbilt, both coached by Michigan alumni.
Right.
And
employing the same strategy.
They are very good friends. They like each other, but the competition is absolutely cutthroat in that sense.
Of course, right.
They sort of know what the other guy's going to do in some ways, and Northwestern has been developing this top women's 8. They don't have the depth as a program that Vanderbilt does. In terms of just the numbers going deep into that.
No,
so it's been a 1V issue more than it has been in the 2V. But we have Miller's Vanderbilt 1V sort of taking a nice move here and getting themselves up. Northwestern also sort of up pretty well. Interestingly, WashU on the outside having some pretty good speed there with Rhode Island, sort of even up there, and then we have Orange Coast and Georgia Tech on the left side, sort of back a little bit. So this seems to be a sort of also a case of not quite. You can't always accurately see crews when they don't actually see each other side by side in the season. But very nice move here by Vanderbilt. Open water at about there you go. 2 buckets in one boat. Yes,
Double
John Miller.
Bucket.
Yes,
love
John
to
Miller.
See it.
That is awesome. I believe John Miller rowed in a double bucket at 8 in college, if I remember correctly. At one time, they're 36 and rowing very nicely. Again, very efficient blade work. Very direct blade in the middle. He probably has it done that way to get the bodies to match up the way they need to, because there's no rowing there that just sort of looks like it had to be crammed into a bucket to make it work. Just very gorgeous rowing here. This lineup of Julia Moschart stroking, Ivy Thornborough in 7, Catherine Reinbold in 6, Gabrielle Opdyke in 5, and then Claire Connor, Ella Jalowski, Nora Kolb, and Christina Kanyagolo. And they're just moving very nicely together. Then Northwestern in the purple boat, a straight rig, but starboard stroked, not port stroked.
I think they did that last year too. I think that was
They have a very good stroke in Sofia DeLuca.
Yeah, that name rings a bell.
And he's really impressed with what she can do.
I think a lot of these athletes are back.
There. Yeah.
I'm sure that John Miller's double bucket here is very purposeful and gets the most out of his athletes. But I can't think of some coaches who take early season races and be like, all right, we have a heat in a final or a heat, and then we go back and race somebody else in different lanes. Let's port stroke it for the first race. Let's starboard stroke it for the second race, just to get all the combinations out there.
They crazy. Right, and it's fine. Early in the season, you play with things and you use it as an opportunity to find out what you can. So we have loping along here, Vanderbilt, looking very, very nice. It doesn't look like they're pushing particularly hard. They've lengthened out to a 35, um, and just sort of pushing nicely. Uh, Vander so Vanderbilt out in front. Northwestern open water ahead, and then Rhode Island sitting in front of Orange Coast, who is racing with Wash U. Looks like sort of seat for seat, and then Georgia Tech here racing the 8, which is awesome. That they're up here.
Yeah, doing a great job in that URI crew, picking it up and pushing it along. I think that Cox is looking at the Northwestern crew, and I should say I think that Cox Cody Pinsky is looking at that Northwestern crew and is going to tell their athletes how to close in and have as much overlap as they can before this race is through. But the second half of the field is starting to push up and close in on Rhode Island's
Just a little bit.
Stern.
Yep. There's a race happening behind them.
That's great.
Between Orange Coast and Wash U. And so those two crews coming together, pushing that up, makes Rhode Island go a little bit faster. We'll see the fastest time so far right now is Middlebury 7:08. We'll see if John Miller's crews can match that.
Just
They're
a little
pretty close, maybe even a little faster. We'll see what they get when they went across. Again, but hard to tell from the angle that we were at.
Yeah, so there's going to be a little bit behind it, but it's going to be about the same. 7:17 in a wide open field.
Yeah.
A little bit of a head crossing.
Could have
quarter.
been some condition issues.
No worries.
Yep.
If nothing else, I'm sure that's
going
to inspire them to dig in and race a little bit harder in the semi. 7:30, and let's see what takes our times to qualify for that semifinal.
So again, they're taking 6. Okay. So here we go then. Orange Coast at a 7:42. Again with Wash U, that being a fairly close race in the end, and then Georgia Tech. So we are very proud here at ACRA to have Vespoli as a sponsor for the regatta. Vespoli is actually worker owned. When Mike Vespoli took his retirement, he was glad to turn this into one of the best boat building companies in the world, also to sort of put it in the hands of the people who had helped make the company successful. They have a word to share for you.
All right, after a word from our sponsors, we are back in it for our first finals of the weekend. We are going to see the singles that started off our morning pull into the blocks to start the E final for the men's single, and then the E final for the men's double, and then the E final for the men's novice 4. If you are just joining in and you haven't been with us all day, welcome to the ACRA National Championship here at Oak Ridge Rowing Association on Melton Lake. It's a beautiful, slightly breezy but cool day in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and I am Eddie Moog. My co-commentator Charlie Sullivan will be back in a moment. We are here with the privilege to announce this on behalf of ACRA, sponsored by Vespoli, sponsored by Gatorade. Here's a beautiful shot, drone shot of Mountain Lake and the Oak Ridge Rowing Course. This will also be the home to the Youth Scholastic National Championship, I believe, next weekend. And it should be used for most racing because it's such a beautiful course. And we have that men's singles E final on the course from this vantage point, going down from the start towards the finish. You're going to go lane 1. Actually, on the left side of your screen is Wichita State's Ryotaro Ito. Lane 2, Keyshawn Majitha from George Mason. Lane 3 in the middle, Jacob Latham from North Georgia. Lane 4, Axel Erickson from Colorado. Lane 5, Eli Britt from the University of North Carolina. And in lane 6, Caden Gordon out of Ohio State. So I'm going to hear a big shout from the Buckeyes as he gets closer to the tent at the end of this race. These guys have had a busy day, starting off first race around 7:15 and wrapping up here a couple double-digit hours later. Zooming in on the course right now. Pretty close spread all in all for a single. It looks like that's going to be Jacob Latham out of North Georgia up in front of the rest of the pack here, with the crew, Axel Erickson, Eli Britt in close contact to him on the near shore. Pretty good open water. Yep, definitely a fight in those middle two lanes between Axel Erickson and Eli Britt. In that fourth place spot, you have Keyshawn Majitha out of George Mason and Caden Gordon out of Ohio State in lane 6, holding up the fifth place spot. All these crews are well through the 1K mark, just about through the 1250 mark for the first 5 crews in this race, and will be cruising into the 1500. And this is their final race of the weekend, so they are looking to lay it all out on the line, whether they spent the whole spring season training for this race this weekend, or if they moved around out of some of the other team shells into this lineup. But this is a good representation of some pretty big programs like UNC, who are definitely 3 varsity 8s deep, a couple novice 8s deep, and smaller programs like your George Mason University of Northern Georgia, in which Jacob is one of the main representatives of a strong small boats crew. Good shot here, up front and center of our crew out of Northern Georgia. Really nice blade work and timing here. It's good long, strong flow. I hear a large contingent screaming on the shore for him as he pushes ahead. I think he's been about 3-4 boat lengths open on the field for most of this race. It might be up to 5 now. A couple of pairs of buoys separating him from the next closest crew and Axel Erickson. And Jacob is through the 1500 meter mark, so he's close approaching. And Axel's doing a pretty good job of closing in on that gap. Yeah, it's just a pair of buoys apart from him and the lead crew. But he and Eli Britt are taking it pretty easy right now, not trying to uncork everything until they start to see the red buoys. Right, this is very internal. It's just them. They're not doing too much shaking around, looking around at all the other crews. They're waiting for some of those external cues to show up. Axel's picked it up a couple beats. Eli's still staying long and strong at the UNC crew to try and close that gap before they hit the last point of this race. Getting a good feel of the rest of the course here. A lot of shouting and commotion on the shore for the Ohio State rowers. Our lead three crews are hitting the red buoys, and they're going to make everything work in their favor to try and close the gap past the crews around them. Axel Eriksson doing a good job of holding off the UNC sculler. And Jacob from North Georgia pushing far enough ahead. So he's just keeping the other crews in sight, making a move if he needs to, otherwise spinning it up to his sprint rate. Great work. Jacob Latham passing through the line right around that 9:15 mark. And I think Colorado held off UNC there to take second and then third in the E final. It'll be followed by Keyshawn from GMU. And while we wait for those times to finish, we're going to pick up the E final for the men's double. This is just going to be three crews, the three crews you see on your screen. This is from the left side to the right side of your screen. You have Illinois' crew with Santiago Sanchez and Jack Johnson. In the middle, University of Delaware's crew with Sanath Shiohar, Zarif Khan. And then on the right side of your screen in lane 3 is Colorado State's Bo Berman and Henry Raymond, and that looks like University of Delaware well up ahead of the field. Their head coach, alumni Tristan, he and his teammates have a really good feel for sculling. I know a lot of them, if they don't scull while on campus, take time in the summers or postgraduate to get in the sculling shell, single, double, or otherwise to improve their boat skills. And a lot of guys coming from that Philly, South Jersey area where sculling the quad is a pretty big deal. Stotesbury is up and on right now, so a lot of those crews are looking to medal in those sculling events at the youth level. Really good flow here from those double scullers as they approach. I think they're through the first 500. Don't lose my sheet. Through the first 500, selling into base pace and just what's left on the field. So that is going to be Delaware keeping an eye on Colorado State, making sure they keep them a comfortable distance away. And Illinois' crews pulling to try and pull themselves back up into the mix of this final event. Wind's starting to pick up here just a little bit more than it has. You don't quite see it on the water yet, but the athletes will feel it coming over their starboard shoulder once they hit that last 750 meters of the event. And it's probably crossing up in front of them as well. Oh, sorry, just going dark there for a second. We are back in it. These crews are coming up on the 1K mark of this course. Still in the same order they came off the blocks with. Delaware had a really great start to this race, starting themselves pretty early, and their base pace is just in a much more confident position, allowing them to really push more meters per stroke out of this. They're not going crazy high in the rate. They're looking for a long, strong, sustainable flow that they can hold here until they can tap it out in the last 250. Really good work by Colorado State crew, Berman and Raymond, to pick up a little bit more power per stroke. They're not trying to force their rate up super high. It's a lot of times a lot of scullers can do is, it's just two of us. It's a smaller boat, it's a lighter boat. Maybe we just try and send it down the course at a really high rate, but they're staying really confident, making sure that they get the most out of each stroke. Good. And the Illinois crew has fallen off the pace just a little bit more there. Um, Looks like they are trailing by a couple hundred meters at this point, so they're just looking to finish the piece as confidently as they can. Delaware is nearing this 1,500-meter mark, about 100 meters away from it, seeing what they make the move to do to come up into their last quarter of their racing season for 2026. Good, just over 500 meters to go for these leading two crews of the E final. Looks like the long day is taking a toll. Uh, Starting the day with the race, ending the day with the race, putting everything they have left on this, making a big move coming through the 1,500-meter mark in the Blue Hens crew, bringing that rate up to 4 or 5 beats. We'll see if this move sustains. They've settled back down to a 32. A little bit more sustainable for how much time they have left in this crew. Colorado State has definitely brought it up above that 28 they were holding for the middle of the piece. Good control from the bowman out of Delaware, Mr. Kahn. Good long flow, good patience looking at his puddles. Make sure the boat has a very easy course down the river. Power 10 being called by the Sea State crew. You can hear the bowman calling it from the shore. And they're in the last 250 here. So we'll see what kind of speed they need to pick up to close this race out. Illinois coming through the 1,500-meter marks in just a minute. Looks like there maybe was a popped seat. Rowing a little bit short. Delaware's working their way up, bring that rate up to close out their racing weekend. Through the line, Delaware is through first in the E final. Well done by the crew out of Delaware, and South Colorado State is also through the line at 9:59. Illinois will be through in the next 2 minutes or so. Until then, we have the Novice 4 coming down the course. This is a dual race in the F final. So this is the 6th level final for the Novice 4, a very deep event, one that mixes together a lot of crews from programs of all sorts of size, your bigger programs, your smaller programs, everyone making sure their novice athletes round out the year with one race at the premier event to make sure that they get the full scope of the sport and want to come back and commit next year to another full year of racing. Florida State is going to be on your right side of the screen, and that will be VCU out of Richmond on the left side of your screen. Guys out of FSU, Cox by Lucas Girala, Bow seat Lucas Poles, 2 Dylan Warren, 3 Timothée Touré, and 4 Can Altug. They are being coached this year by a former rower, but a current student, Gavin Pufal, and they're working through a rebuilding year after building or graduating a very large class last year, starting the team only with 4 returning members. Lucas in the bow seat, this is his, Coxon seat, is his last year racing for the team. He's been the team president for the last year and making the most of supporting this team through a rebuilding year. Virginia Commonwealth, on the other hand, is frequently rowing in the 4s while they're here at ACRA and always making a really good showing in this event. So I think that is working its way down to the novice crews who also want to make their way into those varsity 4s in the next year. Coxed by Tor Anderson. From stroke to bow, we have Marquise Farrell, Dawson Mitchum, Marcus Slaughter, and Ian Lockett in the bow seat. Nice strong flow here. Just under 1K in, clocking in at about a 30. See if that picks its way up in the last half of this race. Florida State just a little bit behind the pace there. Also around a 30-32. Good stroke, good length out of this crew. There's some big guys in this novice shell. Lots of power per stroke to push out of this, which is why they don't really need to bring the rate up super high to get the most out of this row. Both crews for the 1K mark here. Good pickup shot of the FSU crew here. Coming out of Tallahassee, Florida, Capital Region. It's a really good definition of student-led rowing, being coached by a rower, former rower, banded together to make sure this team, which has had some success in the past, is able to stay afloat in a different recruiting year. Good flow out of VCU. These guys, I'm sure, will be on the shore cheering for their teammates the rest of the weekend. Right now, putting a little bit more pedal to the metal. I think they brought that rate up one more beat, and it looks a lot more comfortable now that they're in the last 500. It looks like they've really hit a zone where they can really tap and sustain their shell speed, knowing that they don't have too much longer to hold on and pace. Good, nice pickup. Big change in the pace here. Guys are starting to just lock in and focus on the guy ahead of them because it's getting to that really tough part of the race where all systems in the body are really losing steam, and you got to be as efficient as possible to make sure you get the most out of every stroke left. They are up, 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 up in the rate right now. Making a move around 36 as they close in on those red buoys, and I think they're going to take it and black out to press themselves all the way to the finish line, close that gap on VCU as much as they can. VCU also storming their way through this last 150 meters, looking for a strong, confident finish at their first ever ACRA National Championship. Finish line coming into sight here from the drone shot. Just a couple more meters to go before the horn. And that's through for VCU, well rowed by the Rams. Seminoles are in that last 100 meters or so, using their sprint to close out this weekend. Right around a 9:15 mark on the course. Nicely done, 9:25 to round it out for the day. There we go. That is our last race of our opening day of racing here at the ACRA National Championship. Thank you to all who raced. It's a great day so far, setting the stage for what's going to be a very intense weekend of semifinals and finals yet to come. Thanks so much to our officials and referees, launch drivers who are all on their way in from the course, wrapping up the day. Thanks to our sponsors, Vespoli, Gatorade, and our ACRA board, who I'm sure will be doing a lot of work tonight to make sure that the sort for tomorrow's semifinals, finals, all of that is accurate and well represented. Thanks to HereNow for putting on the live stream, the broadcast to start the weekend. And signing off for Friday, this is Eddie Moog.
And Charlie Sullivan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Ciao.